Yes, hello. I am James Rowland. Today it's a WNR579. It's NXT No Mercy and Bound for Glory. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod and honorary House of Torture member. It is Monty. Monty, I have to take a breath now for your introduction.
I was just about to say, I realized at first I was about to be insulted. I'm like, who the hell else you been doing these podcasts with? You working me to you who else could you be ready to introduce? But then I thought about it and I was like, my intro is getting so lengthy. This is your fault, by the way. Like I'm basically a part of every show weekly at this point, year round. So the title is going to be. Wait, by next year, you're gonna have 6 to 8 different monikers. You're gonna have to drop a moniker at some point, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like I said, it's going to be long. But again, it's NXT. It's
The new
that
leader of
time
the
of the month.
division might have to be my new name. just keep coming, just keep adding me to shit.
Well, we only have 4 episodes of NXT, but we've got No Mercy and a lot of TNA. So let's get into it then. We're going to go back to December 23rd, NXT, with the show open and a recap of the Homecoming episode. And we finally went live in the arena. Lexus King was making his entrance while Miles Bourne shut off the lights in the Performance Center to attack him. Apparently, it's just one big switch for the whole arena, which I guess is kind of, energy, time saving, maybe. I'm not sure. They may have taken the lights out gimmick a little too seriously. Bourne got the win by putting King through a Slim Jim table with a jumping takedown. Yeah, very. It's different to the AEW version, I will say.
I don't think they matches like this allow you to not be able to avoid those like the reason why AEW fans get so they're so proud to point out, oh, they're pro, we're real pro wrestling, and it's just like, I understand the differences because, like you said, it lights out just by the lightest definition possible. If you want to say that compared to AEW, like it's like I don't know, pop, like if you like pop rock or hair bands, you know what I mean. You like that style, and that'll probably be WWE's lights out matches. And then if you want to get into some hardcore metal. That would be AEW's lights out matches, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than that way. I guess it's like you mentioned, but it's not bad. I do think. I don't think it's a bad thing that we kind of got like a sports entertainment version of what AEW does. That's kind of what AEW has allowed us to do. Like they kind of allowed you to see this is lights out. This is what you're probably going to see if you go to watch. Not to call them indie talent, but I'm saying more
Mm.
extreme. You're gonna get if you get that when you go to your local or more local things, you're gonna get people who are willing to go to the next level and willing to go to the extreme when it comes to their stipulation match. And then you go to WWE, you're gonna get something like this to where there's definitely still risk in their bodies, but it's definitely more produced and just way more tame, so to speak, in my opinion. So, uh, you kind of it depends on how where you stand on that and like how you look at it. Which one do you prefer? But I thought this was at least solid enough. I do think I don't know how, but Lexus King, it seems like he's more dead in the water every time I see him. Like I just it's like somehow he gets even further and further away from relevance, which I guess is fine. But yeah, man. Other than that, this is fine. This went exactly how you kind of would
Mm.
expect it when you think about an NXT lights out match.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's different. Like with Lexus King, at least he's getting kind of matches on NXT and kind of feuds, and then it would
Yeah.
kind of like an evolve match or whatever else it is, and then kind of not being booked for a few months. We go, is he around? And then finally, the final nail in the coffin, of course, the match in TNA. So, so then we know, yeah, he's done. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for Lexus King, but in an interesting way. Ethan Page came to the ring after the break, and Dr. Wagner Jr. was shown watching from the crowd. Page welcomed him to NXT for complaining about the outcome of the match at Wells Collide. Page challenged Wagner to a match and called for an official, and they fought in the street clothes. Wagner made him tap out in less than a minute. They took off his mask to reveal it was actually Tavian Heights. Wow. Way they're using everything. We talked about kind of not carny tricks, not the right word, but like you said, it's all the old fashioned kind of spots. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah,
it's him in a
yeah,
mask.
very old school, definitely, definitely, and that makes sense when you think about like who is the brain trust down in NXT. But yeah, this was fine. Enjoyable segment. I do think for a second there, because I'm so like just perplexed and like wrestling is moving at this breakneck speed right now. I was confused as hell why he was even talking to Dr. Wagner. So at first, until I realized, oh, okay, yeah, Worlds Collide, yeah, okay. Like I can only imagine like what people who don't keep up, who just pop in every now and then for wrestling on NXT is just like, what the hell is this? What is he talking about?
Mm.
But yeah,
No,
this was fine.
yeah. Honestly, it's tough enough, like you said, watching it regularly, like we do, to try and keep up to date. And then, like we hear announcements like the women's speed tournament is continuing, and we're going to get the men's. It's like, oh, great, more stuff to try and keep attention to. Lorray took on Reed. Winners match would move on to the final round to console Ruka for the title. Ruka and Zarya were in the crow's nest holding up signs to mock the competitors. Reed now Lorray were running knee to get the pin with about 20 seconds left on the clock. And I'll tell you what, the best thing about the speed title is the light change. If you think about like
Yeah.
old time limit draws, right? I know they aren't a thing now, but imagine if that last minute, like the flashing red of like people go, oh shit, here we go, actual countdown. That's what I took away from it.
I'm glad you took something away from the 2 minute two minute match.
That was like all flashing lights.
But yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I agree. I think that does add something to it, adds a flash of an element. I'm not really a big fan of the speed concept, but it is giving us another. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about it being used mostly because it's just like another thing for the men and women in NXT to feud over. So I definitely love the concept of us having it, but am I really interested in what goes on with it? Uh, we'll see how hard they keep. Like right now, I think it's fine because it's attached to like Soul, and we got a tournament here. But like, we'll see how long they actually keep going with it before it end up like the Heritage Cup and just be forgotten or a waste of time.
But the Heritage Cup's still a thing. They've not officially counted it yet, so I've
Yeah,
got hope. It
they're
maybe
screwing my prediction because I predicted it'd be gone, and I don't know if we can say that it's officially retired. Like you said, it can't even officially retire yet. They're screwing my prediction over. They need to hurry up and put the announcement out.
I'm just hoping Noam Dar returns with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we just forget like a bad dream, just like let's just pick it up where we left off, pretend nothing ever changed. Anyway, the two Graces did battle this week when Jordan battled Ariana. Jordan won a short match with a spinning powerbomb she calls the direct effect. Stacks appeared at ringside to comfort Ariana, while Blake Moreau showed up with a kendo stick looking for a fight. Jordan hit with a chair a few times before Moreau got the best of her. Several officials pulled them apart. Robert Stone and Stevie Turner showed up and booked them in a weaponized steel cage match for No Mercy. And again, we knew it would get to that point between Monroe and Grace. And for Stacks, I mean, I bet he's wishing the family stayed together.
Yeah, I bet it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I will say this is that it's never a good sign to me when you go from being that's yeah as far as the family goes, it's never a good sign to me when you go from being featured uh weekly to being when you go to being featured weekly and involved in a storyline to being basically if it, like another reason why I feel bad for like the casual viewer. Only reason why him and Ariana Grace is together on television is because of the real life relationship. And whenever it that's like never a good sign to me. It's never a good sign to me when they can't come up with anything for you other than, hey, let's just put you with your girlfriend. That'll be a good way to just give you something to do, especially like you said after being involved or at least on television pretty much weekly. when the family was around. Till
Mm.
now, we just throwing. Let's just throw you in here with your girlfriend, and you guys just do something, and I guess try to make people care about you. That's not really a good sign because whenever you have to be up on, especially the way NXT, the way they're doing in relationships in NXT and or the down to PC, whenever you have to know a little bit about the PC love island that they got going on to keep up with a particular talent, that might not be the best sign that they got anything interesting going on for them. If that's the only
Mm.
thing relevant to them right now, but maybe Stacks has a bright future.
Well, the thing is, I'm pessimistic anyway. So I just assume like once they split up, and in a few years' time, they won't be able to watch like this year of their career because it just
Exactly.
be really awkward, you know. But
Like,
no, I wish them well.
yeah, good luck with that. And that's what former Heritage Cup winner, right?
Yeah, yeah, damn right. Yeah. We should mention as well that there was quite a few releases, and we're going to mention a couple, and it just come to mind Stevie Turner, who showed up here, wouldn't be showing up that often. And again, she had a good run because she actually wrestled NXT UK, even though probably no one knows about it. You know, it's
Yeah,
weird.
I'm so confused now. I saw her letter and I didn't read all of it, so I'm sorry I'm a piece of trash for not reading the statement that she put out after. But I was so curious to like why the hell they even stopped her from wrestling in the first place. Because like I know we joked about her gimmick in NXT UK all the time, but like I thought I mean, think about what we've literally watched people learn how to wrestle on our television week to week. So like to not use somebody like her who had an interesting look and who at least was okay in the ring, that she could have been used more. But anyway, and she tried to make the best. Like as far as I know, she was interested on Evolve and all of that. So like she was trying to make the best out of what she was doing. So it does kind of suck. And to me, I think like I said, I kind of got like a weird bond with all the guys and gals that I kind of got
Mm.
a chance to get to know on NXT UK. So I do think, like you mentioned, she definitely did really good with what she was given. But yeah, man, it's just unfortunate, man. I think us little NXT UK fans, the little NXT UK hive that I'm sure exists somewhere,
Mm.
all 50 of us,
There are dozens of
yeah,
us. Yeah.
right, right. The dozens of us were definitely a little bit, shaken by this because it always sucks when they get released. But as far as I know, I think I've been hearing that it's gonna be she's optimistic about returning to the ring. So that's one thing I did see, that she will be at least finally able to wrestle again. So I don't know why they stopped her from it, but good luck to her, and when it comes to hitting the independents up and maybe going to Japan. I know a lot of people know she was building a base for herself in Japan before she got signed. So
Mm.
we'll see.
Yeah. Yep, we got JC Jane coming out and giving a promo about defying all expectations the fan put on her. She laughed at the idea of Lola Vice beating her for the title. Vice came out and gave a babyface promo to get the crowd on her side. She laid Jane out with back fist to end the segment. This was good stuff, and it proves again what a kind of strong face should be like. Do you know what I mean with Lola Vice? Yes, she's not. She might
Yeah.
have got a little bit blander, but she's still got that attitude.
Is it crazy that I think she's improved, while not to say that Jada Parker hasn't improved, but it's like Jada Parker seems like she's kind of been stagnant to me
Mm,
as far as like her improvement. Like at first I saw like a massive amount of improvement where I was like, okay, especially like when Roxanne was champ. I was like, okay, Jada's, but Lola to me, maybe it's because she's been able to travel. And I think that's a sign anyway that they trust her enough to use her in AAA and let her travel and work with other pros of different experience levels. So I think that's cool. But like, yeah, man, she's really impressed me with this little push that they've given her, and like the crispness of her wrestling, along with, like you said, getting better at showing a little bit of personality. Even if, like you mentioned, we kind of know the root, we know the formula for a babyface in WWE. So it's kind of like you said, definitely much blander, but at the same time, I do think she's doing a good job of what they've given her. And like I said, I applaud her for seemingly just getting better. Uh, the more I see her, it seems like she's just improving. And while I think some other women who I thought, not to just point out Jada, but a lot of people, in my opinion, have kind of gotten stagnant,
mm,
or not featured at all anymore. So it's cool to still see Lola, rising up the ladder in a sense, and I think she's in a good spot going into her title match.
Yeah, they make an excellent point. Like Thea Hale was maybe at this point at
Right.
the past year, a couple of years or so, and it's weird kind of so what happens. Speaking of, it's like I planned it. Speaking of Andre Chase, he had a very fake-looking black eye during a backstage segment with some NASCAR drivers. Joe Hendry showed up, and it led to a Dark State wanted six-man tag match. So Henry teamed with Uriah Connors and Cal Dixon take on Osiris Griffin, Sakura Shakers, and Dion Lennox. Dark State got the win. And my issue, what was wrong with the match lengths that week? I don't know if you can remember, but they're just so. It was like 5 minute matches, and I'm just going, what the fuck is wrong with everybody here?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, shoot, the other like the matches you talked with Grace and like the of course you count a speed match that was like 3 minutes. So yeah, it was tough, man.
Yeah, man.
It wasn't really a work rate type of show. Uh, at least the way I guess they were, coasting into No Mercy. But yeah, it was definitely a weird thing I noticed too that everything was, way around right around 10 minutes at the most if you got it there. So yeah, man, this was what it was. Though it wasn't, I do think that at this point I wanted to kind of see what you thought, like not that this. I don't think this matters, but it's like, are we already in comedy and NXT territory with Joe Hendry? Like, is he if when he does eventually make that move that it feels like he's going to have to make? Because let's just be honest, I think we all can kind of see the writing on the wall when it comes to Joe Hendry's future. He probably will be in WWE. It just seems like he's already kind of niched out a little comedy role, and I don't know if that got me optimistic about him being important when he does cross over. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Mm. But the thing is, with WWE, it's them, and they again they don't do it all the time. But I think with Joe Hendry, it's about that whole bollocks of rebuilding, isn't it? As we speak about, and then
Yeah,
it will be
that's fair.
when if they can get him viral again, then it'll be like, look, he's our product rather than maybe someone else's. I don't know why.
Very
J-
stupid, but okay.
yeah. Uh, Speaking of stupid, Jasmine Nix was found unconscious backstage. Fallon and JC decided they didn't need her, and that's it. Her contract was up, and she didn't renew, and that's how they dealt with it.
Yeah, uh, that kind of I guess that shows off the importance that she really that she radiated throughout. The company at this point. It was a very interesting way to get rid of her. And then even the story about I saw a lot of people having discourse about why she, after she kind of exposed why she decided not to. And hey, it's within her right, to she said, she was an athlete and she was making a certain amount of money, and then she took less money basically in her mind to kind of do this. And and I do think it's an interesting point. It's an interesting time for people like Jazz. And I saw a lot of people making assumptions, and I don't know what she's gonna do. To be honest, I don't really care if I don't care if a woman of the women or whoever, men too, if they decide to do an OnlyFans and get some extra money or whatever, do what you gotta do. I think the Mandy Rose formula is a beautiful way to not have to take bumps, and if people are
Mm,
willing to pay you a monthly fee just so you can dress up in a bikini, hey, to each his own. Do what you gotta do. But I just think that it's really interesting that that's something else that like, I know WWE thinks, oh man, I don't want to lose this talent, these new talents to AEW. I don't want to bring in these indie talents to the PC. I'm gonna go get other type of athletes, teach them how to wrestle, and then build them up that way. But it's really interesting how fast, or how the decision making that some of them might have to make that where it's like, well, if I'm making less than I was doing playing this sport, even though I've been through some injuries and I can't play this sport anymore, why don't I just use WWE, get a fan base? And you know how the
mm,
internet works,
mm,
especially somebody who looks good like Jasmine Nix. It don't take long to get a couple people who are willing to subscribe to them and do what they want to do or support their wrestling career forward, whatever it may be. But I'm just saying, I wonder if WWE are now starting to entertain whether or not some of these raw athletes they're signing and maybe they don't, who may not re-sign or who they may let go. How many of them are just using that to get a foundation for
yeah.
wrestling, be at the PC, get that nice training, and then go do other stuff, whether it's acting, whether it's other wrestling, or whether it's their own thing. So It's an
Mm,
interesting conundrum, in my opinion. That's different than, oh, let's just take this talent from here, than it used to be. I really really cool, but I wish her the best. But at the end of the day, does it hurt the WWE? No, but I do think it's an interesting thing because I don't think we don't hear developmental talent saying 60,000 a year, nah, not enough. Let's do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that.
mm.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's great when you think of the days of kind of what opportunities and stuff like this as well to get into the wrestling business. But again, if it's there, we're going to see kind of a lot more of it, aren't we? With people just
Yeah,
again, we've seen it with talent from me WWE NXT who just retire or, like you said, don't continue
yeah.
wrestling because wrestling is not that passion that they got. And again, I get even
And that's
getting
a
older.
risk you run, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you,
So
yeah, go ahead.
no, but I was trying to say to you again, like you said, it's that passion there. So you kind of want the next Brock Lesnar, but the problem is you get the next Brock Lesnar. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
then, it's that kind of thing of yeah, I understand, but it's just you haven't got that. And a lot of people have been accused of it over the years. But again, that's a whole show we something we could talk about. Even with like the
True.
Goldbergs and Lex Lugers and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Back in the day,
Yeah,
like
it's always been a
um,
thing, kind of underneath.
yeah.
Yeah, the athletes have always kind of you had to question their passion, especially as the money got bigger and all that. So, yeah, it's really interesting how that turns out, and which one is the path. I believe I think a mix, and I think WWE is low key kind of still doing it that way. Even if even if they want to train you, if they want to make an over Femi, they want like you said about Lesnar. I do think they still like we're going after Ricky, going after Ethan Page. They realize you
Mm,
do need to have those people who pay their dues and actually love the grind of the business too. Like you can't just have a PC full of those guys. Like, I mean, I think, in my opinion, we'll talk about him on this show. I'm sure the brightest star, that kind of guy, in my opinion, is Javon Evans, and he's really, really young, but he's an indie talent too. You know what I mean? He built himself up
mm,
that way, and he's getting the structure of the PC. So I do think, so far, if we think about Roxanne, if we think about Julia, Stephanie, what they all got in common, man. They built themselves up through indie talent. I'm not trying to say that Tiffany Stratton is lesser or anything, but you know what I mean. I think you need a mix. You don't need one way or the other, in my opinion.
yeah, without a doubt. The main event for the week show was title versus title between Obafemi and Trick Williams for the TNA and NXT championships. A few TNA stars like Mike Santana and Moose were shown watching from the crowd. Williams got a little too confident with the taunting, and Femi made him pay for it by running him over with several shoulder tackles. Matt Cardona showed up the crowd and got a big pop. And all hell broke loose when Williams sorted to Mike Santana, who was sitting at the announce table, and slapped him. Santana didn't take kindly to that whatsoever and immediately attacked Williams. The bell rung, signifying the end of the match. However, it didn't symbolise the end of the action as TNA and NXT wrestlers rushed to the ring and fought each other. In the midst of the violence, there was a moment of serene peace as Ricky Saints calmly walked over to the NXT Championship belt, picked it up, and looked fiercely to win it at No Mercy. Femi then caught Saints' act, grabbed the title, and stared his foe down as the belt held high as the show faded to black. Monty, we talked about it, and it was in the end what we thought it would be. Maybe not afterwards, but this moment itself was brilliant.
Yeah, man, it's what we low key kind of been waiting on ever since the partnership started. I always was wondering, well, were they willing to, and how were they willing to kind of incorporate it truly, and were they willing to do a TNA versus NXT type of deal? And I think it's a no brainer when you think about all the talent and all the interchanging of talent that we kind of had going through. Like it just makes sense to me, and I do think it's very very interesting to that it's interesting to me that it took so long, but at the same time I'm not too mad at it because it's just like we got the payoff. We got part of it here, and I do love I love Ricky kind of ignoring it all and all that going for the belt. I love that nice touch of it because it still set up the next show. But it definitely at the time of this happening, I don't know about you, but I was definitely really excited about where we could be going when it comes to the future of this angle. I am always weary because, like I said, one of the other bigger no brainer type of feuds of invasions, if you want to use that word, which I guess we might touch on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to use that word, I do think it's very interesting that I'm always weary about this because in the past I've been like, people we were all expecting it to go one way and it just never really got there. And so hopefully, using not trying to use hindsight, but at the time I was like, okay, we finally where we want to be. Let's see what we can do with it. And again, I think when you have the talent pool that we have, I think the potential is always there. These things are always tricky, but at the same time, they're very exciting. So at the night of the invasion, I thought this was some really good TV. Like you said, really well executed. And I also thought it finally gave me what I wanted, which was a good explanation for why they would even tease doing the match, doing that Trick Williams over match the way they did. It's like, okay, now it makes sense if we're gonna go this far. And but yeah, it was logical. They didn't do a good job of hiding that this was most likely next. But stuff like this don't have to come out of nowhere to be effective. And I think they kind of proved that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, I've talked up stuff before and it ended up being Dark State, but we finally got the invasion that we wanted in TNA and NXT. TNA were treated as equals, and that's what I think is interesting. There's been a lot of gripes about certain things, but I think at that point, and like you said, yeah, imagine if Oba just steamrolled Trick and we'd be like, oh, fuck. But no, it didn't happen. Not much on a pre-taped Impact, but Victory Road was quite interesting, which was the event a day before No Mercy. Dana Brooke relinquished her Knockouts title, and a battle royal decided which two would fight for it. In the end, it was Lee Ying Lee and Kalani Jordan. And wouldn't you know, we now have another NXT star holding TNA gold. But I liked it. Credit to Kalani Jordan. I should note as well, I don't want to get too depressing in this pod, but Dana Brooke again, relinquishing the title, looks like she's going to have to retire. And I got to say to Dana Brooke right now, I've shit over you for so long, even going back to like 2016 and those days, and you had improved and you were getting somewhere as Ash by Elegance, and it is horrible to see this happen. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah.
And then again, it's just horrible that happens at this time when she's gaining momentum.
Yeah, man, it's so poorly timed. I think that's probably the most heartbreaking part about it. Is like you said, she worked hard, finally was able to make some traction. And like I said, it just making like I'm thinking about like a big chunk of her career where in my opinion, she kind of was done. She's kind of unfairly done wrong. She was done wrong in my opinion, mostly because I thought she was out from the beginning. I always thought she was called up way too soon. When you go back to her initial run. So with that being said, and the fact that she was called up the way she was, it was always interesting to me how how these things go and just how just unfortunately like everything worked itself out in this regard. It was just I really like I said, you don't wish that on nobody. I don't care how we talk shit about plenty of people, Briggs, Von Wagner. I don't care who it is. I don't wish it on whoever I thought was not the best. Like, and then at the end of the day, like this is how people feed their families. This is at the end, and this is something she was obviously passionate about because, like we mentioned earlier, with like the Jasmine Nicks and all the possibilities. If Dana wanted to, she could have stopped. Even after the initial release, she could have stopped, but she showed passion. She worked hard. She came up with a new character. Got ingratiated herself in another locker room and became champion. And it's just a damn shame that she couldn't actually the timing of all of this and the fact that it seems like she will have to cut it and call it quits now. It's just I don't know, man. It's just one of those heartbreakers, man. And wrestling again, like I say about wrestling, man. Wrestling can be some of the most beautiful and best storytelling in the world, but it also can be heartbreaking at times. And I think this is definitely one of those heartbreakers.
Yeah, really bittersweet. Santana beat Ridge Holland with Trick attacking the number one contender afterwards, but we'll move on. September 27th, No Mercy. and kick off Mega Moran and Sam Robertsberg in studio. Got to sit down with Tavian Heights. He likes fishing and Pokemon. We got to sit down with Lainey Reed, who we find out she's injured. And that was it, basically. The main show, Javon Evans versus Josh Briggs. Just 24 hours removed from the United States Championship opportunity against Sami Zayn. Javon Evans sought redemption as he squared off against Josh Briggs. Briggs took advantage of an exhausted Evans, wearing him down with a power and strength advantage. Young OG fought back low, firing off a series of rights and lefts before dropping him with a DDT. Moments later, he launched himself off the top rope and onto Briggs on the floor, followed up with a frog splash that may or may not resulted in a free count. Briggs attempted a super chokeslam from the top, but Evans countered to land on his feet. When the Hill finally did deliver the move, Evans kicked out at 2. Briggs delivered a trademark lariat, but Evans ultimately delivered a springboard cutter and then added another one from the top rope for Lee win. Monty, we're going to talk about Javon and how good he is. But I mean, credit to Briggs as well. What are your thoughts on this opener?
Yeah, man, it's by far one of the best Briggs matches that I've ever seen, and I think Uh, here showcase some of that potential. And I think the reason why is because he finally got out of that hole of when it felt like WWE just wanted to make him JBL or make him somebody else that we've seen before. And I think in this match he kind of showcased a little bit of that intensity and a little bit of athleticism that we haven't really had a chance, in my opinion, to see consistently from here. And I could easily just give all the credit to Javon because I think obviously Javon is going to be a superstar, and Javon mess around. And I know I mostly this is just because for aesthetics for people like Triple H, and like because or like the way these guys who always got something to say. Because to me, Javon is so good in the ring, make him a main eventer almost ASAP in like with what he does in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like he doesn't like he I think he even mentioned in like a recent interview about if he needed one thing to really improve on, it would be making sure people understand him when he speaks. And I understand him, but I do understand that he is using a lot of young, especially in black people vernacular, like a lot of African American vernacular. And some people may not understand a lot of what he's saying. It's definitely you very very youthful in his approach, but that comes with time. I think he'll get more confident on the mic as the years go by. We've seen plenty of people do that and get better at conveying the messages that they're trying to get across. That's going to come with time. And I think, but for like Triple H and for people to really want to book him right there, if he mess around and put on some muscle, man, like maybe that's what they take the next year or NXT title run for him to do. Let him put on like just a little bit more bulkiness for people's visuals because that's what I know some people really like. The sky's the limit. To me, the sky's the limit without that. But I'm just saying, if he does that, then he could be world champion
Mm.
fast. So that's just how talented he is. But I think to not even just like you said, I talk about Evans too much. Briggs really showcased really good work. I think this match was one of those matches, and it's rare that you get that consistently. But I think we saw a match where there's a lot of strength on strength wrestling, where we saw what makes Javon special, and makes him a good, believable underdog. But while also just marveling at how athletic he is, but at the same time, Briggs showcased, uh, things that can allow me to understand. Okay, I can see the future if Bridge can tap into this consistently. And I think this is a really good opener and a great way, in my opinion, to kick off the show.
Yeah, well, like you said, a great way to start the show. The crowd were into it. Like nice choke slam by Briggs. But as you say, we haven't even scratched the surface yet with Javon Evans, and it is interesting. Like you said, you build up his build because that is going to change as well in the next 10 years. Because if and anybody go, what are you talking about? Go back to Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre or anybody. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm not saying he's going to get like jacked, but obviously is a change as
Mm-hmm.
well as like you said, with promo and even in ring. They talk about slowing it down and stuff like this. But this was
Right.
both guys played their roles perfectly, I think, in this matchup. Um, what would you give out of 5?
I give it 4.5. I think honestly the only thing that could make this better is maybe, like you said, a little bit, maybe some more stakes. But other than that, I thought they brought out the best in them, and I think this is the pockets, or especially for Briggs, this is where I want to see him more often. I think this should be his style, or something he try to reach for more often.
Yeah, without a doubt. So predictions though on our prediction league 2025 after WrestlePalooza. The bonus league, Gina's on 12, I'm on 15, Jaxie on 16, Monty on 18, WWE, I'm on 5, Jaxie Gina on 7, Monty on 9, and AEW, Jaxie James on 1, Gina on 2, Monty on 4. So obviously this is bonus league. We were on Evans, so we're all on one. We saw Kalani Jordan celebrating with her knockouts title before we got the Women's Speed Championship match, which is Sol Ruka versus, well, Reed couldn't compete, so Jada Parker stepped up and they made it 5 minutes instead of three. And there's not a lot you can do in 5 minutes, Monty. Really, there's not a lot, you know. But again, we saw Sol getting a victory. I mean, what were your thoughts on this? Like, I don't want to really. I'm not going to go into it because again, I'll probably talk about it longer than the actual match was.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, it was okay. I do question the choice, and I'm not trying to act like I can just submit somebody who would have been a better fit. I understand why you chose Jada because Jada's popular and it makes sense, but it makes sense from that point of view. And I'm not gonna act like Laney Reed is like just some speed demon. But to me, it's just versus Sol Ruka in this spot. Like I don't know, maybe I would have put like a Fallon or maybe even the former champion in Candice LeRae. Like just somebody who would have made more sense for the style because I don't even think 5 minutes of wrestling fits Jada Parker's style in my opinion either. Like it just she didn't really fit at all to me as an opponent. But like you mentioned, I don't want to go like I don't want to act like they were horrible or this was just pointless because the match, like you said, was already only gonna be but so good anyway. I do think that I will say the injury kind of ruined for me from a prediction standpoint. It did kind of ruin something I had going on, and we'll talk about. I guess we're gonna definitely get into it, but the only reason why I chose the pick I chose was because of something that's gonna happen later on. That's connected to later, but it
uh,
is what it is. Sometimes you get unlucky. I'm not even gonna say if she didn't get hurt, she would have won because it's safe to say she could have still did what she did and lost. I was just taking a chance, but hey, it is what it is. Uh, I'm also just ready for think something to kind of happen with Zarya. We'll talk about this too, as I think we're getting there maybe, but I'm waiting on something to happen with Zarya and Sol Ruka, and this may not be the place. Hopefully it's coming sooner than later, but this is like you said. I'm talking about it longer than the match
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
now.
but this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, even if Legend, causes distraction, Parker shouldn't be losing in under 5 minutes, really, should she? And
Yeah,
again, you'd expect it a little bit more. I mean, it would work a speed championship if it was like Orton hitting RKO's. Do you know what I mean? Can you avoid an
yeah.
RKO before the 5 minute mark or whatever it
Like
is?
the
But
Sweet Chin Music, but like how, like you said, how many people has those out of nowhere,
exactly, yeah,
type
those
of
types of
type of
finishes.
things? Yeah,
But if thinking wrestling has changed, but Zaruka are fine. It's times like this we miss tag titles. Imagine the
oh
Fraxium
my
level
goodness.
run they could have had. I have to mention Fraxium because we still miss them, but they could have just done that, couldn't they, with the tag titles for the past year rather than what they've been doing. But oh well.
So much potential there, in my opinion.
Mm.
I agree. I think that's probably why. As much as as much as I understand what they're doing, and I love their chemistry or their bond together. I think that might be the biggest frustrating thing, in my opinion, about uh, what they've been doing as a tandem is that if you're not on social media and you're not invested in just the fact that they really love each other or whatever they got going on in that way, what have they really done other than just have Zarya be bodyguard?
Yeah.
And not even a
And
good one. So
no, and then the other thing as well is Parker, like I said, is over. But I mean, what we're waiting for, like just space, the main roster, or something else. I don't know.
I
Like,
have no clue.
no.
No clue.
Out of five, then what would you give this?
Um I think like three and a half is like baseline, so I'd go like three and a half.
Yeah, I got 3.5 as well. Predictions. James and Gina went for Soul. Jaxie and Monty went Reed, but you heard Monty's explanation. But I will stop doing that. The amount of predictions I've lost thinking too far ahead. My next set of
Yep.
predictions, I'm promising everybody I was just going to focus on the card. Wrestle Dream's mine. All right. I was just like, no, just gonna just focus. Anyway, it's not about that. I could win today. So James and Gene won two, Monty Jackson won, and the weaponized steel cage match: Jordan Grace versus Blake Monroe. The Juggernaut attempted to utilize the steel chair, but a damaged hand slowed her down. Monroe introduced a kendo stick and unloaded on Grace, who fired up and gave her a taste of her own medicine, followed by a spine buster on the aforementioned chair. A blind charge into the chair, sandwiched in the corner, halted Grace's momentum, allowed Blake to seize control of the contest. The Glamour sandwiched her opponent's injured hand in the cage, actually targeting, and she trapped Grace in the ropes with a hairdryer and then proceeded to cut her hair, adding insult to injury. That was mad. I know it's an extensions and all this lot, but it's still crazy to see just hair everywhere, you know. And anyway, driven by rage, former TNA Knockouts champion punished her opponent with a barrage of clotheslines, then tripped her up on the ropes and delivered a smothering drop to the mat below. She laid it in with a weightlifting belt, but Monroe recovered and sent Grace face first into a trash can. She dropped kicked at Bayface into the cage and followed up with a running knee. Looking to continue the pain and suffering of her opponent, Monroe unloaded a bag of diamonds on the mat, only to suffer a fisherman buster on them. Grace shoved the hair Monroe cut earlier into the heel's mouth. This set her up for the top rope. The Glamour ducked out of harm's way, hung Grace in the trio O, and trapped her in a trash can with a double stomp followed. Moments later, with a table set up below, they scaled the cage. Monroe heard a handful of powder in Grace's eyes, but the Juggernaut delivered an air raid crash that drove the heel through a table and earned her the victory. And it's all about that. Yeah, it was quite a good match, actually. I remember it now. Like, yeah, no, that was quite good. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Monty?
Yeah, man, this is really good. You know, I kind of I saw people talking about it, and I don't understand why it kind of got some of the reviews I remember hearing, but it was way better than what I saw other people say. Maybe it was a little brutal to people, but I thought as far as the weapons fields brawl, they kind of used almost everything you could. I mean, just think about what you just said: the bag of diamonds, the trash can, the hair dryer, you know, scissors. So you know, they went to the floor. They on top of the cage. So they did really good. I think they did pretty much almost everything you could do without kind of going to the AEW level. I even think the haircut spot was kind of like Blake low key showcasing a little bit of that psycho level that we know
Mm.
she can go to from her AEW past, but doing it under the guidelines of what WWE tends to let you do, because I think this match definitely could have went to that next level. And I know Jordan, you know, if you know anything about Jordan's work style, she have no problem going to that next level too. They could have went even further, which is kind of funny when you think about just how far and how like you everything you just kind of described. But yeah, man, I thought it was full of emotion. It was definitely some PLE, definitely something that you expect from a big match on a PLE. I thought it was a great way, in my opinion, to kind of blow everything off between these two. And you know, I think they honestly though, even with this, if they wanted to revisit this too down the line, maybe for the championship, you know, however they wanted to do it, I think you also could. I think that's probably why I was like, felt like they blew it off, but it also felt like this could continue even with the you know the outcome that we got here. But I thought it was really nice, you know, and I thought they did a really good job. I think, like you said, the only way you probably could have went further is if we get some blood. But to be honest, like if you know anything about WWE, that's just not going to be their style, especially with women. The way it was, the way AEW don't really care about that. But to be honest, I thought they still did a really good job, and I thought Jordan looked strong here, and Blake looked. It helped establish Blake. Like even if she don't, you don't want to go off. I don't think she looked bad in the feet, obviously, but at the same time, I think it did a really good job of showcasing that mean streak and that that style that, like I said, we know because we know Blake is Mariah. But if
Mm.
you don't know, if you didn't watch that, this match is a perfect barometer for probably how far she's willing to go under the WWE banner.
Yeah, I just love that conversation with Blake going, I'm going to cut her fucking throat. You know, they go, no, just cut her hair. You know, cut her throat. Like, no, 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 it's not AEW. All right, we'll allow her hair, but nothing else, you know. And this was an old fashioned cage fixed around the ring rather than lowered, you know. And I wasn't too thrilled about pink weapons, but I guess that is Blake's gimmick, who did dress as a Dudley for some reason. And I don't think I have seen so much hair cut off, even if it is extensions. My only issue, though, Monty, this is a steel cage weaponized, matchup, but a foot on a rope in a cage stops a pinfall still. And I'm just like, really? Really? It's just the little things, you know?
So weird. So weird how they decide to do certain things like this sometimes, you know. Very WWE of them, to be honest, because they love to kind of throw that monkey wrench sometimes in there to where it's like, what the why? Why is that a problem? But yeah, it's small things like it's the little things that you especially if you think about is like, why did that even happen? But it is what
Yeah.
it is.
But this was a step up for both. So out of five, what would you give it?
uh Man, this was 4 and a quarter for me. I thought it was good at the time when I watched it. I think I wrote probably my favorite match, but I looking back and thinking about the quality of the Javon Evans match, I think Javon's match was probably slightly better.
Well, I've gone 4.5 for this one. Predictions all went great. So James and Gina on three, Jackson Monty on two. As we've got the NXT North American Championship match, Tavian Heights versus Ethan Page. And All Ego weathered an early storm, delivering a big back body drop to Heights that allowed him to capture control. The Olympian fought through the pain and mounted a comeback that saw him catch All Ego in an ankle lock. Ethan fought out of applied a Boston Crab, further damaging the lower back of the challenger. Heights recovered and applied a sleep on the top rope, but Page fought out and delivered a power slam to the mat below. He transitioned seamlessly, delivered a twisted grin, and scored the victory. After the match, Dr. Wagner Jr. appeared on the video screen and warned Page that he has eyes on the North American Championship. And again, Monty, this was interesting. What I found quite interesting was like, oh, they're going to focus more on the outside talent being a threat than the actual kind of NXT bread type guy, if you know what I mean. Because I thought Heights at one point might actually do it. I've talked too much now. What are your thoughts?
No, I thought this was cool. This is a nice solid match for Tavion. It was back and forth. I thought, they did a good job of Heights did a good job selling his back and all of that. I wrote down here that the ankle lock attempt, definitely gave me angle vibes. So I see where they're trying to go with him. But honestly, I thought it was just solid overall. Page showcasing that craftiness that we all know him that he's kind of becoming known for when it comes to watching what he does. I do think that Heights is still learning, and you kind of can tell with the way they kind of pace the match. But I do think Heights still look credible, and I think that was kind of the goal is to kind of still make him look like a threat to Ethan Page despite everybody kind of probably favoring Page in this match. So yeah, man, I thought this was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing. Could this have been if I have a big critique, it would probably be like the intensity or the way the match felt. Maybe it's because of what it was just after, but it just felt like something that could have been like a main event or a good NXT match. But at the same time, I won't complain because it was for a title and they had the stake. So it was solid.
Yeah, I put no offense, but this wasn't a PLE match, so I must have felt exactly the same thing. The only other thing I noticed in this was Ethan is the only man to carry the title like Cody, the kind of old school way, which
Hmm.
some people might find interesting. I don't know. I just noticed it. I was like, oh, okay. Safe to say. Anyway, out of five, what would you give it?
Funny how that gives off a completely different vibe. Like one guy holds it like that, and you just like, oh yeah, he's being paying respect to the classic way, and the other guy does. You like, oh, what a dick. But yeah, maybe you don't like Cody, and both of them is a dick. Three and three quarters, probably where I leave it. I thought it was solid.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3.5 predictions. We all went Page, so it means Gina and James on four, Monty and Jax on three. Miles Bourne said he is willing to go to war for NXT. Mike Santana said he's bringing the TNA title back home. We got the NXT Women's Championship match, Lola Vice versus JC Jane. The champion toyed with Vice early, attempted to embarrass her in front of her family, friends, and hometown fans. When Vice fired up and alert, Jane delivered a senton that sandwiched Vice between her and the steel steps. The challenger favoured her back, then Jane targeted, delivered a backstabber for a 2 count. Vice fought through the pain, fired up and unloaded with her trademark strikes. She had a running hip attack in the corner and wiped Henny out of ringside, for Jane rocked her with a pump kick. Back inside, Vice responded with a kick of her own, only for Henley to break up the pin by putting the official to the floor. With Henley ejected from ringside, Vice trapped the champion in a rear naked choke, but the heel countered out. Frustrated, Jane headed outside and grabbed the women's title, attempting to use it for her advantage. Referee prevented it, and after a flurry of roll-ups and reversals, the challenger obliterated the champion with a back fist. She fell to the floor, however, and a woman clad in black rocked her with a kick. Vice narrowly beat the count, but Jane flattened her to retain the gold and earn the victory. Monty, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? I think there's a couple of things to talk about.
Yeah, the lady in black. I guess we'll get to that
Mm.
at some point. Anyway, it had some good sequences. I thought it was okay. I don't think I'm not gonna act like I thought this was the best thing uh I've ever seen. I thought it was solid. I do think they kind of gave them a bunch of time and that kind of showcased again, like I mentioned earlier, that confidence. But I don't know if JC is necessarily the type of champion that needs to be in like damn near 15, 20 minute matches, which is saying a lot when you think about I'm talking about the main champion, but I'm not trying to act like JC is bad because JC I don't think JC dragged this down. I thought it was physical and I thought Lola did, pretty good and she came close to victory, But again, when you kind of get that finish, that in my opinion, maybe from my point of view, because I kind of knew that that was probably where we were going anyway, because of the information that I already kind of saw coming, which is interference was probably where we were going. Maybe that's why it's sitting around for the last 5 to 10 minutes of this match, waiting for it to get there was kind of boring for me. But I do think they were ambitious. The crowd was into it, so I don't necessarily think it was a bad thing. I honestly believe that if the match ended after Fallon got threw out and they kind of just let Lola dethrone her, I probably would give it a higher score because I think that might have been the more satisfying way for this to go. And I thought Lola after that point, I thought they really did a pretty good job. But like I said, after that they kind of had a couple more minutes until we got to the interference, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, here we go with this. So again, formulaic in my opinion would probably be the best way to describe this, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, with her family there, she was always going to lose. This is the WWE way,
Unfortunately.
isn't it? Um, Jane, 100 plus days for JC, which I wouldn't have given to her. So maybe they're just trying to show us now as well. A bit like they did with Mandy Rose, isn't it? Just keep her along,
Yeah.
see how long it takes. This was arguably Lola's biggest match. She didn't get the win. So you have to ask yourself, there more for her to do in NXT, or like we talk about with others, is she ready for that jump?
Yeah, it's very interesting because I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. I think she'll probably be on the main roster sooner than later, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that because of the relationship or whatever that she has with Priest, but that probably plays a factor if you think about what WWE how WWE likes to kind of play these relationships.
Mm.
But I do think, like you mentioned, it's like if she's not world champion material right now, it's like okay, so you kind of ask yourself, all right, what can we do then? What does she reasonably have left to do in NXT? Unless we're gonna move her down to the Soul Ruka division, I think we all kind of can see that Soul Ruka or the Soul Blake Jordan Grace seems like that next world championship level. Maybe a Jada Parker on the outskirts of that, but even Jada, in my opinion, can end up getting called up without even touching that belt. In my If you really think about it, so it's like it's really interesting to see who is the people who actually get that position and like who could be next because we didn't like that we didn't see Jason coming at all. So it'd be interesting to kind of see uh, who could actually be the one to get that crowning achievement. And then we've been like you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned. Maybe it's Who maybe it's even Fallon. Who knows? But just funny you mentioned Thea earlier because like I remember feeling like, oh, before she's gone, definitely gonna be women's champion. And then like now we here now, and I'm not too sure about that at all. So
But
yeah, it's funny how where we at in the women's division as far as like the potential champion.
yeah, without a doubt. And again, we have to talk about the women in black. The last time I thought this is how old I am. I think it was Tori. And I'm not talking about
Yeah,
Tori Wilson. I'm talking about Tori without
it's
surname.
Tori.
It was Tori.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
don't think it
remember
was her, but again, as we mentioned before, maybe it was someone else, and because of the injury, she couldn't do it, and so it just, do you know what I mean? Rather than it actually being a mystery type thing.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still frustrating because it's like you can go throw that kick, you can, but you can you can interfere, but you can't go out there and lose in 3 minutes or lose in 5 minutes, whatever you was gonna do originally. But anyway, it's fine.
Yeah, unless they got a stand in, like I said, it could be, who knows? Maybe
That's
we'll
fair
find
because they
out
only had to do
one
one
day.
thing, so that's a good point. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm maybe I'm grasping at straws.
It was Shotzi all along. No.
Right.
Predictions, we all went Jane. So did we give it? I don't know if I did out of five or not. Yeah. No. What
Oh,
would you? No. What would you give it out of five? God, and you forgot then.
yeah. I'll give it 3 3/4.
I'm feeling nice. I'm going to give it a four. Predictions all went Jane. So Gina and I are on five. Jax and Monty on four. We're one away from a perfect score, and
Perfection.
I've backed the most dominant man in NXT history. Yes, boy. Come on. NXT Championship match. Ricky Saints versus Oba Femi. What could go wrong? The challenger brought plenty of energy early, but an ill-advised attempt at a tope suicida was met with a hard forearm by the champion, who proceeded to overwhelm Saints with his hard-hitting and raw power. The babyface fought his way back into the match, avoided the fall from Grace, but ate a big uppercut. Moments later, he made up for it, delivering a spear for a 2 count. Saints delivered a powerbomb for his own near fall, but moments later had his momentum used against him as Femi tossed him across the squared circle. The aggressor attempted his trademark powerbomb, but Saints countered into a roll up for another 2. A powerbomb attempt by Femi on the announce table was countered when Saints delivered a DDT. On the floor, Saints delivered a tornado DDT, but the champion answered with a wicked chop to the chest that drove the air out of him. The fall from Grace followed, only for Ricky to kick out. I have no idea how he did that. Oberfemi wasn't the only one in shock and awe. I was as well. Saints recovered, added the third and fourth DDTs of the match, and incredibly became the new NXT champion. Monty, I can't believe it. It's not about the predictions. It's just about Oberfemi. This is the third time we've had to talk about a defeat. And it hurts me each time.
Yeah, it's such a safe bet. Like I'm not. Hey, I told you after stupidly suggesting that Wesley would beat him that time, I kind of just I gave up on betting against him, and especially here we talked about it. Ricky was dead, not dead in the water, but we definitely didn't see world champion so soon for him. When you think about the Ethan Page feud and how that played out for him, and just how he kind of felt as a babyface so far in NXT. I did not see him being the guy doing it, even though I understood where, like I mentioned in the past, NXT really like as far as the NXT roster goes, they really look to Ricky right now to kind of lead them as far as experience and as far as how to be a pro and all of that, as far as his popularity backstage. So if that does mean anything, that is a reason why we might be why we kind of got this result. But still, that doesn't make it any less shocking. Like you mentioned, we're talking about Obafemi here. We're talking about basically the most dominant champion that we've ever seen, and just one of the most dominant runs that we've ever seen. And not for nothing, by the way. Like it's not like this was just something that was handed to him or anything. Like, no, he was dominant, but it was one of those dominant things where it was like, yeah, but like, what can you do about that type of dominance? And like, we all can see that the future, like, if he doesn't become WWE champion, the allegations against Triple H is one of the situations where it's like, all right, man, it's hard. You got to explain this, man. Like, how can you not see world champion when you see over Femi? So it's one of those things that you definitely have to not worry about. But it's definitely one of those things that was shocking. And then the way, let's cut right through it. The way it happened, I thought the match was okay and was going well. And like you mentioned, it was hard hitting, and Ricky did a good job of just like overcoming everything that we've seen most people uh it's one of those things that we see most people not be able to survive. And it's again, I get it, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about it because I'm not sure what you think about it. And I know we talked about it after the match, how we felt, especially about the tornado DDT. And I get it. It's not convincing, and I'm not gonna argue with anybody who felt like they killed it for him or whatever. Even if I try to tell you well, he got dropped on his head like 3 times in a row. I understand. We watch so much wrestling. We've seen people. I mean, don't even get me started on what the type of finishing moves I've seen people take and not, and just like overcome at this point. We've seen all types of shit that people kick out of, and we saw crazy stuff that Jordan and Mariah did, or Jordan and Blake did to each other that they kind of that could have been way more looked at way more viciously than the tornado DT. So I get it, and I'm not gonna argue with anybody about it, but I do think the tornado DDT added to my initial shock factor about it. And I think that's the way I felt after. I didn't feel deflated or disappointed. I saw some people say that it was disappointing. I'm like, were you disappointed because of the result or how it happened? Like, was it just because of the DDT, or did you watch the match and see the finish and you just felt bad after? Because to me, when I looked at it like that, and I was like, I have to separate how I feel about this move and look at it in the theory in the story of the match, and I'm like, you know what, that was genuinely surprising, and I appreciated the surprise instead of being mad about the surprise. But I understand. Hell, people used to tell me that they hated O'Connell's Rainmaker, even though he's literally taking people's head off. So because it's a clothesline. So some people really are sticklers about certain moves not being finishers to them, even though I feel like a clothesline is even way more deadly looking than a tornado DDT is in wrestling these days. But again, it depends on where you stand, what side of the thing that you stand on. I'm one of those guys who can almost get behind almost anything working as a finisher, but I also grew up thinking that you were dead if you took Bret Hart's power driver, and I'm talking about Bret's power driver, not even not even not even like Mankind used to do a power driver, but he didn't jump with you. And I used to be worried for people. So I'm old like that. The old school wrestling fan in me that used to watch Jake the Snake film and all that. Even though I know that's just not even the snap like Jake did, the type of DDT. I liked it. That's just me though. I mean, Rey Mysterio, you use the Hurricane Rana after softly brushing his feet against your face. He did it in the ropes and it looked cool, so people don't get mad at Ray. So I'm just saying I got different arguments against this, but I'm not going to argue about it because I understand. And then we all talking about Obafemi, who you couldn't convince me that he got ran over by an ambulance, and I would assume he would break the ambulance, not hurt himself. So I get it.
I think the thing is, if Ricky Saints has come in and beaten Oba like this, I maybe been a bit different to his booking the past few months.
Yeah.
You compare Ricky and Oba, and again, I can't remember many Ricky matches. If he won with a DDT and stuff, fine. But if he has got
Right.
the finisher, it seems just like you can't hit your finisher on a champion. You seem a bit, I won't say weak, but do you know what I mean? It's just a bit weird. Like, I don't know. Um, and then with Obafemi, I'm always going to be biased anyway, because in my
Yeah.
eyes, he's one of the greatest. I'm going to say it, greatest stars we've seen in NXT. Like, I'm so
Mm-hmm.
confident, Monty, of Obafemi. Like you said, apart from injury or something fucking stupid in personal life, or
Yeah.
there is no way. that this guy can't make it, whether his time is now and he goes to the main roster. I mean, if he does, you have to give him the unbeaten streak and just treat him as a
100%.
real deal. You know, the walk that he's got and the Ober, the oh, but the old Goldberg shot. It's there for you to build this guy.
Yeah.
You know, but like you said, with Ober, you need a tank and not Abbott. You need like something incredible to kind of take Ober down. So I really didn't like the finish. Roll them up from the fall from grace and have it like Ober a bit of a surprise. Do you know what I
Yeah, a
mean? And
shock finish. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that too.
yeah, yeah.
That would
Do
have
it like
been just
that.
as shocking. But I think they obviously wanted to be definitive too. So I get that. I think that's another thing because I agree. I think if you just want to shock people, just rolling them up in general would have been shocking. But it feel like
Yeah.
they didn't want Over to have a rematch. Oh, the way they felt like the way they decided to do it. But I don't know. We'll see. And I guess in my opinion, I think that to me the way they did it, it just guarantees that there's no way whatever the next draft happened or whatever, or however they decide to do it now, Over will be on the main roster sooner than later. I doubt we're gonna get another run from him I remember we was with Braun Breaker or Trick Williams, we like waiting around for them to get called
Mm.
up, and it's just like, no, I don't think they're gonna do that with Over. I think he is on a fast track, and I think
Yeah.
that kind of confirms it. But I get what you're saying. I honestly also I think that's probably the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing is that if they booked him better, like if he would have beat Big Jasper Troy or some of these other people
Mm.
with a couple tornado DDTs, then this would have been at least more convincing because it's something we've seen him drop other people with, and then you can at least be like, oh, okay, I get it. This is what he do. But like we didn't even get that type of stuff from him in the build up to this, which is basically I don't even think you have a problem with the finish as much as you have a problem with Ricky beating him in general. Like
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
when you're
no,
really
no,
thinking about it, it's
yeah.
like not the, and not that you're taking away from Ricky. It's just they didn't build Ricky up good enough. I 100% agree with that. Like I'm really putting my faith in Ricky because I see superstar in Ricky too. But if you're just going off the way they booked him, no, I
Mm.
100% understand how you can look at this and be like, oh no, this is bullshit.
But it's our fault for again watching the product and like we said, we saw how Dragunov had to kind of build himself up to a monster. That's the type of
Right.
you know what I mean, kind of guy I thought would be over. But then again, Ricky, you've done it now, you know, so now it's your chance to show that you're the guy. There's no more excuses, you know. You've got the championship. You're the number one guy now on NXT, so now's your chance. And I will say about Obafemi as well. It has been a pleasure. He's not gone, but again, it's just a bit like Fraxon, a bit like other people. We won't see him on the monthly now. It'll be a bit of a shame, and we should have maybe seen it coming because the NXT, of course, we had his North American title run as well, which was 11 defenses over 273 days. His NXT Championship run was 11 defenses over 263 days. So we just didn't look at the stats, did we? But I mean, look at that for two title runs. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that's it. Without a doubt, one of the greatest runs ever,
Yeah.
easily. And I honestly, like you said, I wish him the best. And I'm honestly, like you said, it's gonna be barring outside forces, like you mentioned earlier, injury and all that. It's gonna be a no brainer. Like
They just can't,
it
can they? They just,
like
yeah.
booking him well makes so much sense that I almost won't even give them I won't even give him extra cool points for like doing it right because it's like you should do this. If you screw this up, it's more of an indictment on you than getting it right because he's such a no brainer.
Yeah, without a doubt. So out of five, then what would you give the main event?
I thought it was I gave it a 4. I thought it was okay. That was good.
Yeah. I guess still gave it 4 and a quarter. You know, I still thought it was a good match, even though it pissed me off. And not just because of predictions. We all went over. So the final scores overall, we, of course, Gina and I get the win. So we move a point ahead. Not that it matters in the overall grand scheme of things, I suppose. Monty's going to win, but, you know, I'm not going to be negative about it. Overall, though, much like Victory Road, No Mercy kind of wasn't really needed. The NXT title change was a
Yeah.
bigger surprise. It's a shame the torch wasn't passed to Javon Evans, and that is something we've not spoken about yet. That I thought Javon was going. That's another thing that annoyed me, as I thought it was going to be the passing the torch to Javon Evans, and instead it's Ricky. And again, some people like get over it, but sometimes what we booked in the head is better than what we see on the TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think the only saving grace here is like it gives me motivation that in my mind, especially after the eventual most likely Ethan Page, because Ethan Page most likely got, in my opinion, it really don't make sense if Ethan Page don't pop up out of nowhere. Like, hold on, this guy, I took care of is the world champion now. Then I'm just gonna
Yeah.
try. I'm gonna get my belt back. That makes logical sense to me too. It's like, yeah, it's cool and all, but yeah, no, I gotta do this now. I don't know when he's playing on you, and I think that kind of made me feel some type of way too. Is that it feels like in this, because we're losing a guy like an Oba, it feels like that's why you, instead of giving it to Javon and immediately we run into a Trick Williams problem, because I think honestly he knows, Sean may have learned from the Trick Williams thing that if you give it to Javon too early and he don't have anybody interested in the fight, you know, I don't know, but I think if you let Javon maybe overcome a heel Ricky, because I can already see the makings of a heel. In my opinion, I think that's the thing that got me the most optimistic, is that as champion, you can really tap into that absolute and that ego of Ricky and make. I mean, think about when he was the FTW champion in AEW, when he had a belt and he was more cocky and he was a heel. That was a lot of the best work that he was able to do in that company, and I think they can tap into some of that, and you can still get the crowning achievement for Javon. And even though I do think I agree with you, it would have been in our mind we had already kind of said no, that spot is reserved for Javon to do it. But
Mm.
if you think about what we have so far now, it's like, okay, we're not. It's not horrible what we got. Like, I think we still can get there eventually. And like I said, in my opinion, in the long run, Ricky's gonna be better as a heel. So we'll see.
Yeah, we should say actually, bonus league. Gina's on 13. Jaxie and I now on 16-2 behind Monty. So we'll talk about, like I said, overall, an MVP and rating of the night. I think your match of the night was the John Evans match in the end.
Yeah, that was my favorite match, easily.
Mm.
Definitely my favorite match. Overall, for the entire show, I thought it was like you mentioned. I think at the end of the day, you're 100% right about this not really being much of a needed pay per view. Like, I don't think I think if you want to indict the decision even more to give Ricky the belt, is that without that decision, it felt like this show kind of needed that decision to really stand on it.
Mm.
Like, yeah, Jordan and Blake, in my opinion, definitely held their own and gave PLE vibe. And I thought Briggs and Javon definitely came out with a great, kickoff match energy. And the only thing they needed was stakes, in my opinion, to improve it. But other than having that title change, No Mercy felt like a glorified NXT show. So I give it probably 7.5. I thought it was good. I thought it was still a fun show to watch, and I think it's hard for these NXT shows to be offensive because they never really that long. You know what I mean? They usually pace
Mm.
okay, but if you really think about what we got in between the Mariah, and then we got the opener, we got the Mariah, and then we get the shock finish of the main event. We basically got a 3 match card, and then the rest of it was NXT main events or NXT matches. So it's like this could have been a TV special.
Yeah. And who's your MVP? Because obviously, I mean, for me, it's Saints because he won the title, even though I fucking hate his guts.
I thought you loved Gina. Gina's gonna get you, bro. Like
Gina's not. Gina
you
don't
better
listen to
hope. You better
updates.
hope.
All right.
Yeah, you better hope she don't hear all this Ricky slander. I should probably let her know that you've been hating on him. But anyway, I think yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's a fair.
Mm.
Javon, in my opinion, is definitely on the. It's hard to not give him that love, but yeah, man, I don't think neither one of us. We talked about it every show. We've been kind of trying to figure out when is they gonna pick it up with Ricky? When are we gonna pick it up? And he went right under our noses. He picked up the world championship. Ain't
I
that
know.
something?
Yeah. Oh, it was like we saw that coming.
Yeah,
um,
man.
Yeah, but no, you're right. And again, I think the other thing missing, and not to harp on about fracturing, but I think just a tag team division in general to have like a bang of a tag match on these
Yeah.
cards, take me back to old takeovers as well. Like I said, it was a good opener. You had a great tag match, and then obviously the women's and the men's championships were like the kind of main focus point, and it's got forgotten about, especially in WWE nowadays. You know, we talk about even Raw and SmackDown, yeah, but again. Anyway, we got news.
Don't get me started on that. I can go on
No,
a
I know, I know,
major
I know,
rant
I know, I know.
on his hate for tag wrestling.
I
He
know.
obviously hates
I just don't
it.
get it. We got some news as well. Idris Enofe has left WWE. Monty, I feel you. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, you know?
Man, I guarantee you because I was like, somebody's gonna dethrone Fraction. I still put Blade in the no, and they haven't been relevant in forever. I don't
Oh.
know, man. Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks. I understood why. I understand why though. I mean, I think I seen potential there, and but at the end of the day, like you said, sometimes it don't work out, and in my opinion, too. I'm not to say that Evolve is a death note for you, but it does, in my opinion. When yeah, no, I mean, come on, think about it. Like, if you only Evolve, and which is like, I guess I'm not even gonna say it's development for development, but when you, it's to the point to where it'd be different if you're featured on both shows and we still know you exist in NXT. But like, no, like you go to the point to where you're just on the Evolve roster, it's like, oh, okay, it's getting tough. So yeah, man, it sucks because I actually saw a lot of, especially in ring potential there. But yeah, man, sometimes it don't work out, and maybe he has to go away to make it work and come back, or maybe maybe going away is the best thing for him. And like I said, the beautiful thing is I've mentioned this a lot, but I don't just say it as like a consolation prize for like wrestling nowadays. It is legitimately the truth. We are in a great place to where it's not the end of the road at all if you get let go. So that's one thing about it. I think he still can have a bright future. Maybe it's just in AEW, even though to be honest, right now he probably end up on RH, which is kind of like AEW's evolved in a sense. So,
Yeah. Vicious
whew,
circle. Goes to TNA, ends
yeah,
up an explosion. Do you know what I mean? It just can't get out
yeah,
of the cycle.
exactly,
Uh,
exactly. Just cannot get on the main show.
Anyway, September 30th, NXT. The show opened with a recap of No Mercy. This led to Saints coming out to his first promo as NXT champion. He gave a passionate promo about winning the title and proving his doubt was wrong by betting on himself. JC Jane came out to congratulate him, but said they have bigger things to worry about. Said TNA is trying to take over NXT because they keep winning TNA titles from them. This brought NXT general manager Ava, and she said Ricky and JC were the captains of the brand, which means they'll decide who was on their teams. Santino Morella came out to a very warm welcome from the NXT crowd. He introduced his captains, Mike Santana and Kalani Jordan. The announcers were shocked to see a member of NXT roster chosen as TNA captain, even though she is the Knockouts champion. What a fucking traitor! You deserve a chance for Ricky, and apparently it's not invasion. Santino made this pretty sure. He said, look, we're friendly. We're friendly. We're not going to invade. It's
We've
now
been
going to be
working together
called.
for months.
Yeah, it's now called Showdown. They put a lot of work into that opening segment. There was a lot.
Yeah, they
There
had to
was a
clear
lot
that
going
up.
on.
They had to
Yeah.
clear it up fast. And I saw people giving them a hard time about it, but I'm just like, come on, man. Like, y'all, this WWE we talking about. Like, come on, dog. They're not going to be wrapped up in none of that mess if they can avoid it, unless they are, at the White House spitting water. But uh, yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It kind of sucked because, like, in my opinion, not to say, of course, the invasion was full of nostalgia and all of that, and I get it, but it's just kind of one of those things. Like, did they even like think about the date of the show when they did that? Like, I doubt they even entertained that whatsoever. But hey, man, once you're in a fishy situation, you gotta get yourself out of it somehow. It definitely took away from the energy to me of it because, in my opinion, yes, they've been friendly, and you're 100% right. But just the energy of the initial brawl. And like, for example, like when Mike Santana was out there on commentary in the Trick Williams match, the energy he gave off was not just like some friendly frustration type of deal. It was definitely some, no, we're Impact and we are legitimately better than NXT from our point of view, or at least we're tired, we're sick and tired of getting pushed around for NXT. So I do think the showdown definitely took away from it, took away from it, but I definitely understand why they felt like they need to do what they needed to do here. And yeah, man, I understand Kalani because she is a knockout champion, but God, I'm like, if this is where we were going, then why not just let Zia Lee win it? Because
Yeah.
like I don't know why we do it. Like, and then her explanation was horrible too. It just yeah, I'm doing this because I'm the knockout champion, and I get another opportunity to fight you, Jason. And I'm just like, that's it. That's the best explanation you can come up with. You can't say you're frustrated with always being overlooked and you want to represent Impact. Nope, that ain't why. It has nothing really to do with Impact. You
Just want to.
just yeah, I'm the champion, so I'm gonna do it. Okay, whatever.
Well, well, like I said, it's changed from Invasion to Survivor Series 2001 with the lineup, so to speak. But and again, it
Already
speak.
ruined the angle.
I know. Speaking of name changes, as well, TNA had to cancel their November, change the name of the November pay per view. They said genocide wasn't acceptable either. Anyway, we got the culling. They told Leon Slater and Javon they shouldn't be friends. And speaking of friends, Lyra gave Tatum her own Barbie Lyra. Lyra spending a lot of time in NXT at the moment. I don't know why, but Miss Parker was in action next, looking for revenge on Lash Legend. This was as much as a fight as the first meeting. Parker ended up scoring a win with the hypnotic. It was a clean victory with no shenanigans or interference. So I guess we just move on now. Is that what we do? Like, I guess.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, good. Even Page bragged about beating Taven Heights, but when he called out Dr. Wagner Jr., Mustafa Ali showed up instead. Ali reminded him that when he was released, he had already earned a North American title shot and still wants it. He said he spoke to Ava and he has one next week. They got into a fight, which Ali won to send all ego packing. And just to say, if you know, new listener or anything like this, in September 30th of 2023 at No Mercy, it was scheduled to be Mustafa Ali versus Dominic Mysterio for NXT North American title the very same day as the episode of NXT was, and Ali was fired before that. So 749 days later, he is back for his shot. Monty, I mean, we were there. We both dealt with this time. It's crazy what happens, you know. Sometimes it is like a full circle moment, so to speak.
Yeah, that's like I said. That's some of the benefits of kind of being diehard or kind of always being here for this deal. But yeah, man, it's very interesting in my opinion how that kind of turned out when you think about it, and how poetic it kind of is that we're kind of back here and he's getting able, presumably, in this point, kind of back full circle here to this spot. And again, I love Ali. I love the work he's been doing. I think the work on himself since getting released has been great. I loved Ali before he kind of got let go, but when we really think about the direction that WWE wants to go in and all of that, I think freedom is probably the best thing for him. But this is a great promo, man. The energy here was great, and then working with Ethan was great because I thought Ethan kind of played the way Ethan kind of played off his promo and was like, if you think that little side story gonna mean anything to me, then you got another thing coming type of deal. But I love Ali, using the politics now, so everything about it, the promo and the segment was really good. It really got me excited for the clash. And just like you said, I love it. It's just one of those logical things, and I love how, despite how things went, if you really look at like, especially a lot of the stuff from what I heard about Shawn Michaels pulling Ali to the side and letting them know how he wanted this promo to be real, and because Ali wasn't necessarily sure about the promo before he kind of delivered it, and kind of but Sean was like, no, I want you to be as authentic as you can be about, how you felt about what happened. And that's basically what we got. And I think Sean knows from experience because he gave a lot of those shoot work promos in his day in a sense too, and he understands that what really, especially a guy like Ali, because we're not foolish. We know that's Ali. You know what I mean? We remember it, and so it wasn't that long ago, like you mentioned earlier, that we was all there with him in this situation. So it's one of it's one of those weird things where you kind of flirt with real life and then and bring that into it. But it wasn't one of the distasteful versions of it because man, did the '90s used to have a lot of work shoots. But I thought this was really well
Mm.
done.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But and then again, yeah, I thought this was well done. The Hardys gave a quick promo directed at Dark State to hype the NXT versus TNA tag belt. The next match was between Miles Bourne and Josh Briggs Sturman, who would join Team NXT. Bourne was giving up some size, but didn't look intimidated and got in Briggs's face before suplexing him. And lucky for us, Bourne got the win to earn a spot on Team NXT, thanks to Cardona. And what is weird is that Miles is using the zigzag, but the Nemeths have been conspicuous by their absence because apparently Nick has got no fucking interest to come to NXT. So it just shows you, all this relationship and stuff. There is still maybe a couple of guys, and especially with Nemeth going, no, I'm not going back. I've done what I've done in NXT.
Yeah, and I respect that point of view. And he kind of mentioned too that it's for the young guys in his opinion too to kind of go back and do that, and I kind of appreciate that honesty because he's not necessarily wrong. He's done this pretty much everything there is to do. I mean, for our lacking tag division, would it be nice to have him and his brother on television? 100%, but I can't act like I'm so opposed to what he's saying. I get it, and I respect that. But yeah, man, it was really interesting here, like you said, to see Cardona come out too. Even we know how long he's probably been waiting to be back in WWE television. But yeah, man, this was solid. I think it was the result wasn't really in doubt for me, but it was still a logical next step when it came to formatting the team.
Yeah, and again, Triple H says on every kind of post show, doesn't he? Like he's got people ringing him every week. It's just Matt Cardona.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Before he takes any indie booking that he takes, he's waiting by he's letting Chelsea know, like put it, let somebody know I'm waiting. I'm always ready.
Always ready. And where does Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry's alliance lay? Who knows? Despite being partners,
Hilarious.
Jane made Henley earn a spot on the team by taking on a woman who wanted to be on their Vice. The back and forth contest, Henley hit a sliding German suplex, take control, but Vice managed to make a comeback and get the win, much to the surprise of Jane at ringside. She is the worst partner to have. You know what I mean? Even in tag
Yeah,
team or stable wrestling, like you wouldn't pick me to be in your team, and then you're
automatically.
surprised that they lost. Yeah,
Yeah, I
like,
don't I don't understand why. I don't understand the loyalty to her that they have. That's why I flirted with the whole maybe Fallon or being the one because you really think about logically where we going angle wise, betrayal has to happen, right? If you have any
oh,
self
definitely.
respect, yeah, if you have any self respect, you have to betray her at some point because, like you said, it's just ridiculous at this point how bad or like how careless she is when it comes to the treatment of her so-called teammates. And to be fair, it's consistent when you think about what toxic attraction and what she was. So it is consistent, but yeah, man, it's very very weird. And I don't know, making her earn it. You can look at it one way or the other. It's definitely ridiculous in a sense, but it's also very like it's also some very typical WWE booking here too. So it's like
Mm,
it's one. You look at it however you want to look at it. Like yeah. So,
yeah, I
but
completely
sucks for
understand. Yeah.
Fallon though. Sucks for Fallon. Like I still got to prove myself to you while I help you win.
Uh,
Very weird.
Oh my word. Well, speaking of another group that's not going anywhere, the Culling faced Javon Evans and Leon Slater. The High Flyers had the crowd cheering and chanting. Izzy Dane was trying to get Tate Paxley to help at ringside, but Paxley was too interested playing with a new doll, so Dame sent her to the back. Evans took advance at ringside with Slater hit a 450 Swanton for the win. I'm going to say something now, and it did remind me of the Young Hardy Boys, and I don't know how you want to take that. People will get their knickers in a twist, all right. But again, they also announced that Leon Slater would face Javon Evans, and talk about it being a dream match. I'm going to say it's pretty, yeah, get over it, all right. I'm excited for that matchup and to see these two guys. You weren't there living it, listener. I saw the Young Hardys, and Javon and Leon have definitely got it. But again, I don't want to get too overexcited, but I think these two guys have got so much. You talked about Javon. I think Leon Slater's got exactly the same type of potential.
I think anybody who don't understand that just don't watch a lot of Impact or don't know much about Slater or whatever, because it's just like, from everything I've seen, even before he was even officially signed, uh, he was obviously a shining star, had obviously the potential to be a shining star. So yeah, man, I think, first of all, this is definitely a dream match. I know they're young, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is a dream contest. And I think they've already kind of done a good job of establishing that, even in this type of deal, in this match. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand we want to hold on tight to the memory of, and I get it. They are, like, the Hardys might be the greatest tag team of all time. So I understand, but it's not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. One, and then two, the potential, if you really look at how good both of these guys are, is certainly there. And yeah, man, I definitely couldn't wait for these guys to take on each other. That's one reason why I was looking forward to their one-on-one encounter, because I knew what they both can bring to the table in the ring.
Yeah, without a doubt. We've got several TNA stars were shown arrive in the NXT parking lot before the final break. They made their way into the arena along with several NXT stars. The teams were revealed for both brands. So the men's team for NXT was Ricky Saints, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Miles Bourne. The men's team for TNA was Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. The women's team for NXT, JC Jane, Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, and Jada Parker. With TNA had Kalani Jordan, Kathy Lee, Jessica McKay, and Mara Sade. The show ended with a big brawl between everyone from both shows, and Ava and Santino were powerless to stop it. And again, a nice way to brawl to end the show. But what are your thoughts on the teams being picked as well? Because we did touch on it earlier, but the women's team for TNA maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It was all right.
Yeah, man, it was weird. I mean, I get it, but it's just kind of weird to me. I mean, the inspiration was kind of a no-brainer, mostly because of their ties to, in their past to WWE. So I knew that would kind of get a good, nice pop in a sense, So I knew that they were probably up, as far as the tag belts, the way things seemingly were going for them, they would probably be the tag champs. But in my opinion, and I know we're gonna get this rectified, but the treatment of Jordan Grayson and Joe Hendry show was just so hilarious to me, because I get it, like, it makes sense, because I guess, especially for, like, Joe Hendry, because he's literally still under contract. The Jordan Grayson one to me was ridiculous, mostly because it's just like, Jordan Gray should have been the captain. I don't care about yeah, Kalani could have been the automatic member, but it's like, Jordan Grace is literally a big read. She was the first Impact person we had seen on WWE television. You know what I mean? Way before even the partnership was official. And so, like, in my opinion, that almost automatically qualified her as just like an ambassador. And if she wasn't going to do that because she's under contract in NXT, they could have had such a fun little angle there, in my opinion, of what will she do and what won't she do. And then, but whatever, that's fine. The treatment of them was hilarious to me, but it just felt like a glaring hole missing from the Impact team when it came to credibility, almost. Even with Kalani there, because, like I said, you have to glorify. But then even with Mars today, even though I understand, like, she's been hanging out with the Inspiration, she's been hanging out with the Hardys, so I kind of get it. But it's just like that she was literally just in NXT, so it's just like the Impact team got a literal NXT talent, somebody who only been in Impact for a cup of coffee, and then the main attraction for getting the two ladies from the inspiration is pretty much their ties. Almost like a lot of people are gonna get nostalgia about the iconics. So it's like, wow, what an impact team that don't really represent impact if you really think about it. But to be fair, I know all the stuff around Masha, and I don't know
Mm.
how many diehard, I don't know how many straight up impact women talent that don't have ties to WWE at this point were even are even available, because you can almost make that same argument I just made about Mara or some of these other people for Indy or even Zia Lee. So it's very interesting. I don't know who would have been your pick to throw in there that would have made sense for Impact. So I don't know. You know a little bit
Mm.
more about the women's roster than I do. But you
Yeah.
know that team was very weird to me.
Yeah, the women's roster's been a mess. Let's talk a knockout, the knockout division in TNA since the relationship with NXT has been awful. They've not really been building many stars in themselves, and I don't know why. If they're kind of against it and stuff like this, it's like we talk about the inspiration. They're always on like the kickoff to a show as well. I don't know whatever reason. And again, we've not mentioned Masha Slamovich, who yeah is not around anymore. She looked like she was going to be the next big thing, maybe in NXT as well. Like I said, former champion. But as we mentioned with Obafemi, sometimes stuff from outside does happen. And yeah, Masha is just not a thing anymore. And well, we'll just move on. October 2nd, Impact. He had Matt Hardy, Leon Slater, and Indy Hartwell defeating Trick Williams, Clowney Jordan, and Frankie Kazarian, with, of course, Kaz eating the pin in that match. And then October 7th, NXT, it is time. The showdown, the opening video was wild. The shots of TNA and NXT history. Would they be bound for glory or stand and deliver? And again, Monty, we talk about it a lot, but even seeing those clips from the past kind of cut together, it just makes you think, wow, it is maybe not a bigger deal as it was, but it's still quite important because WWE just one step closer to opening the TNA library as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's it's weird.
I mean, since TKO already, it's very interesting to me that they haven't made a bid or that they
Hmm.
can't pull more from it than they already do. Maybe it's under like a different umbrella of TKO. So I don't know, but yeah, man, definitely a great opener. I mean, as people like me who or you too have been like a fan of Impact from back in the day and been here from like the inception of the popularity of what NXT is, and kind of can see the NXT in its many forms and even Impact, because like I always love to mention, not to gloat or to point out that, in my opinion, I thought Impact would be dead by now, but Impact has survived a lot. You know what I mean? Like they have been through a lot. They've been through a lot of different incarnations, a lot of different versions of it. I know they may be far away from their prime. I know some people feel that way, but I also think they've been doing a really good job of finding a way to kind of build themselves back up. Just so to even be here, whatever version of them, to even still be here and be important enough for us to get the opportunity to do this, because I do think, because we're all so spoiled as wrestling fans these days, we don't understand that we are very, very lucky to even get a chance to see something like this, even if it's not even really two different companies anymore. You know, to the way it's not to the extent that it would be if it was WAW with two different ownerships and all that. But I do believe it's still pretty damn cool, and I think this package kind of shows that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the type of thing, when obviously with like the WCW and ECW, and then they started kind of showing stuff and WWE, and it's like, yeah, we will get to that stage, I suppose. But at this point, it's still pretty cool. The Dudleys and TNA president are in the crowd, and the first match tonight saw Matt and Jeff Hardy take on two members of Dark State in a title versus title match. Before the match could even begin, all four of them attacked the Hardys, and Matt and Jeff sent them back out. Griffin almost botched an attempt at finisher from Dark State, but he and Matt recovered. That led into Matt and Jeff pinning Lennox to become the new NXT Tag Team champions. I mean, Monty, what would you think? I mean, Booker T called out the botch. Fair play to him, you know, but he's always going to. But this is a good way to start. And I will point out as well, Dark State in black and Hardy's in white. Maybe that's trying to tell us what side we should be on.
Whoa. Anyway, no. I get it, but yeah, yeah. I mean, okay. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that. Did the match was the match clunky or did it go? I don't want to say it went off the rails, but like are the Hardys what they used to be? Not necessarily in this dark state. Even probably do they even are they even ready for this
Mm.
spot? Probably not. You know what I mean? But I don't think it was. I don't think it was horrible. But I do. I chuckle at you pointing out Booker T calling it out because you got to remember like Booker T. I love Booker T, but Booker T is Booker T, and Booker T is a tag team legend. So I pretty like maybe part of me make feel like he called it out just out of frustration as somebody who watch tag team wrestling. I don't know. It's hard. I feel like it's hard for him to put sometimes to stop being a teacher, but at the same time be Booker T, be entertaining. So maybe that's what it was. That's why you got to call it out because it's like, look at that. It's a damn shame. But you know, I don't think it was as bad or horrible. I think Dark State is green, and I think the Hardys have been working their style and working a certain style for so long that I don't know how much not how much experience, but I think when you work as much as they have, because the Hardys are still really active. Like they don't just do Impact; they show up in a lot of different places, and it's just like it's like in the middle of one of their bookings. Now they got to work this super new team and we got to act like we got to build some type of chemistry, and that's really tough. But I do think it says a lot about where we are right now in our tag division. That not only was I rooting for this for like an Impact win, but it was also because, like I mentioned, I feel like where we are as a tag team, the eventual hanging tank or whoever it is that's probably going to win the belts back in NXT from the hardest will probably be more interesting than what we have going on right now. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the NXT's tag division is on. We pretty much one deep right now. We got one interesting tag team as far as in the ring and then good as a team. Everybody else got to pick it up. So I don't mind the hardest being able to run around with it and also get a nice achievement that kind of confirms. Or if you don't think they're the greatest of all time, I don't know what you think about it, but I do think them winning the only tag belts they probably never touched that exist with any credibility is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Again, mine's a bit, I do the Hardys top five, but, if we're going to say it, New Day are the greatest tag team of all time. So, yeah, suck on that, the
That's
Hardys
fair.
fans. Um, Anyway, TNA 1-0 up. The first elimination match of the night featured the women in action with Cassie Lee, Jess McKay, Mari Sade, and Kalani Jordan making up the team of TNA. While, of course, Jane, Sol Ruka, Lola Vice, and Jada Parker made up Team NXT. Jordan Grace was the referee since they had no other plans for her in this match. And Jordan and Jane started the match since they're both the team captains. It took until the first break for the first elimination to take place. Sade scored the first pin, but she was taken out by Ruka almost immediately afterwards. Team NXT had a big advantage with Jordan being alone against three of them, but their own issues almost got in the way. Jane scored the win for the team NXT, but Jordan almost made a successful comeback. We got the eliminations, which Sade eliminated Parker, Ruka eliminated Sade, Vice eliminated Lee, Vice eliminated Mackay, Jordan eliminated Vice, and then finally Jane eliminating Jordan to win. And also say 5 of the 8 women in this match had a title bout, with Soul having 2. Anyway, Monty, enough about facts. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is okay. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. It wasn't offensive. I do think that, for about the amount of time a match like this takes to kind of put together, it's kind of you know, I don't know how ready everybody was, but I don't know. I do think Impact kind of ended up looking like stepping stones, but when you really think about everybody, if you think about like I mentioned earlier, the team that they kind of got, it's just kind of like I can't feel too bad because it's like everything is believable based on what we know about these teams. Like Impact team is just if we're just gonna be honest about it, they're just weaker. And I think the match kind of played out that way, even though I do think it would. That's the reason why, again, I think you mentioned it and you kind of touched on it. That's why I don't want to, stay on that point about what happened to Impact Women Division. But I do think, and maybe it would have been Marshall, or maybe it would have been somebody else, but a young or somebody that you want to put the division on their backs going forward would have been perfect for Impact's Kalani role, in that opinion. So it kind of the 1-on-3 comeback to me spot reserved for Kalani just ended up feeling like, oh, okay, well, this just NXT, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
but like if it would have been what we probably would have got, which is an Impact person being here, you know what I mean, and
yeah.
representing and putting on a good performance for them, I think the finish and all that would have been even more interesting. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that kind of held it back is that honestly, this match just showcased the difference in divisions, and Impact didn't really look up to snuff at all when it comes to their women's division. But it was still cool to see everybody. I thought that was fine.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, though, and I think that is the issue at this moment in time. It just felt like NXT versus NXT Light, The Moonsault Facade,
Right.
they completely missed Parker, but there was a lot of spots missed in the OK match. I didn't like the crowd doing the Mexican wave, but if it's soul, I get it, but it's a slippery slope to get your attention off the matchup. And again, this is like an invasion. So again, I don't understand why they did it. But imagine 2 years ago, like you talk about, with a team of Jordan Grace, Jenna Pratt, Taya, Valkyra, and Tasha Stills, who is criminally underused as an in-ring talent in TNA. Like honestly, you talk about someone use Tasha
So
Stills.
they do still have Tasha. So okay, yeah, I don't
Yeah, 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 yeah.
understand. I don't understand why they don't book Tasha because she's pretty
She
cool.
she's Ali's kind of like right hand woman, which kind of makes no sense for the Barika's badass character anyway. But what I'm hoping is Kira Hogan, if she is leaving AEW, to come back to TNA. But then again, it's all pipe dreams, with tag team division and stuff like that as well. Mackenzie
Yeah.
Mitchell was also back as a ring announcer for TNA. There was no Tom or Matt on commentary, probably because of how hard it is to spell their surnames. So I kind of I kind of get that. Is it Hannah fan? Is it Ray Rod? Okay,
They're gonna
Matt
they're gonna
Card.
they're gonna change him back to Philip for the night.
Yeah. Hey, Tom Phillips and Matt Smith, come on down. Matt Cardona apologised to Ava, but didn't mean it. He will face Josh Frisk next week. We've got Mustafa Ali versus Ethan Page, North American title. Ali go back to Ali to the corner during their initial lockup, but Ali didn't back down. He had a great exchange of holds and counters that led to Ali almost winning with a black slide. Page tried to leave the match early, but the challenger pulled him back in the ring. Uliga had the upper hand throughout most of the break, but Ali started making a comeback when he hit a sunset flip bomb in the corner. Page and Ali worked perfectly to blend their styles for this bout. After several close 2 counts, Page was able to get the win to retain his North American Championship. Monty, people forget how good, I think you mentioned earlier, how good Ali actually is, and Page obviously was his normal excellent self.
I don't think people even like. I think some people just the criminal thing about Ali is that I don't think some people even know either. Because you think about how much of his WWE run he was either a jobber or just not really doing anything important, and like how a lot of his best matches under the WWE banner was reserved for pretty much 205 Live, and then like I said, now even on Impact, like he's still doing what he does, but it's obviously to less viewers, less eyes. I don't think he gets enough love at all in general. But a match like this is a great example of why he is one of the best in the world. And I think him and Ethan Page did a really good job. I think again, Ethan Page one of the. I don't like how keeping hammering home the how much of a veteran he is, but he just really is solid at everything. And when you put him in the ring with a guy like Mustafa Ali, it is just, of course, they're gonna go out there and do what they have to do, and they did really well. And I think honestly, man, this match kind of flew by, but it flew by in a good way because they were just hitting all the spots. And I just think that Ethan Page North American title run, the North American title is still the class of the NXT, man. It just really is in a sense. When you think about what we've gotten, when you think about Obafemi, when you think about Wesley before that, and you think about
Mhm.
what we get now out of Ethan Page and just how even when the few, even like I said, Ethan Page got me to get a kick out of a Santino Marella match, and he made that enjoyable. Like that's how good, that's the type of run Ethan Page is on. And I think this match was really really good. And to me, what I love the most about this is even though Mustafa didn't win, I was sitting there hoping secretly, just like, you know what, this would be sweet if you let Ali win this. But it didn't. It didn't happen, and I understand, of course, why, because we got so much still going on with Ethan outside of this. But I thought this was a really good match.
Yeah. Again, it's funny, isn't it? Because we talk about Page's match with Heights, and that wasn't a PLE match. This was a PLE match. With the effort both put in. And Ali always in his matchup, I was thinking about this, always has like a holy shit moment or like a bump he takes, like a Javon or someone like where you just think, fucking hell, Ali. Like, honestly, it's so good. And having his old W music lead into his current music was great. The only thing that would have made it better if Ali would have won, like talk about. And again, the mic cord made it more interesting because I'm not sure if that was planned or not, but it kind of bled into the matchup as well, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know how planned all of that was, but yeah, it
Yeah, I
worked.
don't think he
It
meant to
really
kill Booker and Vic. Yeah.
it really fit really well. But yeah, exactly. Ali has always kind of had that thing about. As a matter of fact, that unfortunately that might have played a role into why he spent a lot of his time, or a big chunk of his time, getting beat up because he's so good at giving you the moments that are like, wow, what the hell is that? What did I just witness? So yeah, man, he's always been just very very high class, and high caliber talent, and this was another showcase of it.
Yeah, Dr. Wagner still has issues with Paige and Lexus King thinks it's Tavian Heights, but it's not. Hilarious. Joe Hendry served as the official for the main event with Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Miles Bourne, and Ricky Saints taking on the team of TNA Leon Slater, Moose, Frank Kazarian, and Mike Santana. Slater and Evans were preparing to start, but Trick and Kaz tagged himself in so they could get the action started. Surprisingly, Bourne was eliminated for the first break to give TNA the advantage very early. Even more surprising was Evans being the second man out when Saints reached for a tag late in the match. Williams left him high and dry by leaving the arena completely. The NXT champion put up a good fight, managed to eliminate two competitors after being ditched by Trick, but Santana and Moose were too much for him, and they got the win. Mike Santana pinned the NXT champion Ricky Saints. I'm just going to put it there. Other eliminations, like I said, Kazarian eliminated Bourne. Slater eliminated Evans. I love that as well. Leon Slater eliminated Javon Evans. Saint eliminated Kaz and Slater when Santino eliminated Saints. And this was everything that it should have been. This felt TNA versus NXT, and TNA came out on top, even with Trick being a prick.
Yeah, and I think honestly, that's kind of like the role. What Trick Williams did would have been a great catalyst to turn Jordan heel. Even though I understand y'all didn't want that to happen, but at least it would have made a little bit more sense because I don't understand. Trick has been kind of trashing Impact this whole time, so that's the kind of thing that confused me about it. Other than let's just say, like you just said, Trick is just being a dick, and then like, okay, he's just taking to that, like, just being a dick. He's just doing it to be a dick. He don't really have a good reason to turn on Ricky there, but he did it. I guess the ego with the co-captain thing, sure, but whatever you can do to justify being an asshole. But yeah, this is cool. I agree with you. I thought it was everything it needed to be, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't want people to get so wrapped up in the fact that Ricky lost, but that kind of is like that goes into the logic of why not people are frustrated, but that's the reason why we are what we kind of are, and that's the reason why I keep saying in the long run, Ricky is probably going to be a heel because in my opinion, they don't book him. They're not going to book him dominant. If you're not going to book him to come out on top, then it's like one of them situations where it's like, can he really just keep smiling and just keep on with the keep on
Mm.
in a sense, and then losing like he does in a sense, But I don't mind it as far as Mike winning because of what not because of what I know, but it's just like I get it. I felt like it was gonna have to happen. Like somebody was gonna have to take that pin, and logically, who should have took it? Probably the Impact champion, so to set up the Impact. But hey, let's just shit on Ricky some more and set up his heel turn that I think probably is gonna have to happen at some point. But I'm not gonna get too wrapped up in it. Like you said, I think they kind of bought themselves people to not worry so much about it. when you call it a showcase, because now I just feel like this wasn't nothing but an exhibition. Was Ricky even trying? This is just a showcase. He wasn't
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? But again, it's interesting. It's like you said, to might get the pin, and maybe that's why Obafemi, was not in this matchup because
Which is
again, if I
insane to me. It's like, yeah, I don't want none of you bums to get over.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. No TNA talent is touching our prized position. So yeah, very, very interesting. We move on to Impact. October 10th, Jordan Indy signed a contract for Bound for Glory, and Joe Hendry had his last match in TNA, losing to Eric Young. We knew it was his last match because the commentators said it. Plus, he waved goodbye to the crowd. So again,
Jeez.
whether he yeah, I mean, just to give it away. Whether he shows up, well, he's in NXT now anyway, isn't he? I'm about to say, doing his appearances, but whether he'll, I mean, a Royal Rumble appearance, I'm not sure. But again, you never know, do you? So again, Joe, we hope this is the right decision. It probably is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think it depends on where how high you saw him in the first place. I think he'll be fine, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Mm. All right, so October 12th then was Bound for Glory. And this is just notes for the show. Like I said, probably won't be a full-on review, but see what happens. The Hall of Fame was the Beautiful People and Mickey James. Hardly anyone in the arena to start. There was a guy dressed as John Cena on his phone behind them, and he is an arsehole. For a couple of reasons, he's an arsehole, but he's an
Yeah,
arsehole. Who fucking shows up at a TNA event just as John Cena? Look, I know I went to an AEW show in a Drew McIntyre top, but to dress up as full John Cena, like some sort of fucking. Anyway, let's move on. Victoria inducted Mickey, and I will say Mickey James made the groundwork for AJ Lee. And again, AJ Lee then continued that and continued that. There was no Nick Aldis. I can't believe they go to Australia just to film a backstage segment, Monty. But again, maybe Nick just wasn't allowed to be shown or something. I don't know. But Mickey James going into TNA Hall of Fame. I mean, what a talent! She deserves going to WWE Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
she should. Yeah, she should already be in that one, but she definitely deserves both. She
Mm.
did. She did a good job when when she was. Whenever any division she's been in, she's been like one of the shining stars when it comes to the women. A true trailblazer. I do. I think I. I'm sorry. The first thing that came to my mind was Impact had some funny angles, right? Did she get pushed in front of a train or something by James Storm?
Yeah, it was good and bad times,
Yeah,
all right.
man, what an angle. Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind for some reason, I'm like, that can't be the best memory I have. Big James Impact. But anyway, yeah, no, she definitely deserves it. She's definitely a great knockout who set the tone. Every matter of fact, she left, came back, been there multiple times. So if anybody would deserve it, just for consistency and always kind of coming back and being a fixture in Impact, she definitely deserves it. But I think it's a no-brainer. The problem is since we have to put people like Stephanie McMahon in the WWE Hall of Fame, she might look a lot less good as she looked here. When she get in,
Oh.
she might be like 80 by then. Who knows? Because you never really know who they're gonna put in WWE. She's definitely gonna get there. Hopefully, please just do
Part of
it.
me wishes they'd bring Trish and Mickey as like 8-year-olds back getting power bombed by the latest superstars. Do you know what I mean? Just to bring, carry on that Mae Young tradition of, just up women
Lord,
getting beaten up. Anyway, Macklin versus Kaz was fine with Steve winning. Blanchard versus Miller was a clusterfuck. Poor Gia. Tessa won, but my God, I mean, Gia probably got in about 30 seconds of offense, and there were still a couple
I'd
of
be
botches.
I'd be forgetting about another person that we don't want who could have been in that Impact match. But it's like, nope, yep. We're gonna avoid that fire. So let's just keep her away too. So yeah, I forgot. I'd be forgetting she's still employed there. But yeah, I don't know, man. The thing is, this is what I will say. You know, the funny thing about it. I got my opinions on Tesla, as many people do, and as they probably should, because she has not done a good job of trying to change any of those narratives or anything about her. She kind of, she is who she is. I think the way it's kind of like her thought process when it comes to that. But the funny thing about it is I used to be one of those people who at least thought that she was good enough in the ring to where maybe in a few months, like we see what's going on with like a Brock Lesnar. Like it's kind of like what you mentioned about Brock Lesnar. It's like, but Brock is not even trying in the ring, and the fans still screaming for him. So somebody with this in this situation is like, why in the hell is the match quality still so shit? Like, has she just phoned it in? Has it become a check for her? Because from what I remember, she at least was solid, before she kind of the book kind of got opened up on her, or does that affect your aura in the ring also? Just like people thinking or finding out you're a horrible person. Maybe that screws up your wrestling too.
Her last 6 months, literally, she attacked Gia Miller, I think maybe at Slammiversary or one of those shows, and then got
Yeah,
suspended up until Mount to Glory. So I don't know what they're doing,
Jesus
but
Christ.
it's like, wow, the fines in TNA are quite bad. We got the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. The best spot was Santino in it, but only for a couple of seconds. Like always, because TNA loves being like WWE, doesn't it? They forget he nearly won the Rumble back in, what was it, 20, I want to say 2012, and I'm going to have a lot of people,
Yeah,
2013,
yeah.
2014,
It was a
whatever the
big one.
longest, whatever the
Yeah.
40 man one was. Yeah, we all know what we're
Hmm.
talking about. Anyway, the crowd hated the double winners, which was Nick Nemeth and Kaz. I have to ask, why Kaz? Like, what has he got to win it 2 years in a row? Like, and again, the fans were just like, bullshit. They fucking hated it. And it's like, well done, TNA. You know how to get them on side, didn't you?
Not to
Like,
mention it was a weird, ugly double pin. Cass lost his title literally earlier in like less than 10 minutes. It's like, why the hell are we doing? What are we doing, man? Just let Nick win it or whatever. Why? I don't get it. But again, this is one of those times. I know a lot of people love to say, well, WWE basically owns Impact. No, look at the way they book Impact. Impact is still Impact.
yeah,
Look at some of these
this
decisions they make. Impact is definitely still Impact, man.
the knockout starters online. Clarny Jordan beat Indy Hartwell in an okay match. What was the Indy's family was there to watch her lose, obviously, but it seems that Kalani Jordan has passed Indy with in-ring ability. I think would be the nicest thing that I could say.
Which is, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Nicest thing we can say is that, yeah, Kalani has improved and Indy is Indy. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Mm.
I don't know, man. Do Kalani gotta lose to the chin? Like, is that what's gonna be like?
Oh God.
Again, who can take the belt and lead Impact into the future? Do you have at least one woman, like you said, but maybe Tasha Steele, like you mentioned earlier? Like we
Yeah.
need something because Impact is drowning right now when it comes to the future of their women's division. We need something, man.
Yeah, we got the Hardcore War, which was Order 4, which is Mustafa Ali's group,
Mm-hmm.
versus the System. Let's not forget, I hate Eddie Edwards, but that's for different reasons. But credit to Alicia Edwards, who I hated for quite a long time,
In a
but she
long
took a
time.
couple of good bumps in this matchup where I was like, you know what? Credit to you. And I liked Agent Zero, or what I call him, Little Bill. Because again, I don't know where they're built, but he's got to be related to Big Cass in some way. I'm pretty fucking sure. Ali brought it again and brought the show back on track. Moose got the win for his team, but again, Ali talk about a couple of holy shit moments where it was just like, why are you doing this, man? It's TNA. Like, come on, guy. Like, can't you do this somewhere else? But it's just fun.
Oh my God, that's such a good point. Like when you watch him and he's just out there just doing whatever, he keep putting his body on the line and just it's like, bro, like I get it. I know where you're trying to go. I know I understand the standard that you're trying to withhold, Ali, but man, you don't think you're going a little too hard for Impact, man? But yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that other than like, yeah, Ali. They definitely brought the quality of the show back up to a decent level. And I thought it would have been nice to probably see, like you said, after all that stuff Ali does, it would be nice to kind of see Ali come out on top. But this was fine. I thought, like you mentioned, the system and having Moose. team come out on top, and the way they executed it was, pretty good overall. I
Yeah.
thought at the end of the day, it was a hardcore war. It was chaotic, and so you kind of can expect it to kind of go a certain way. But I thought it was pretty good, even though they did have some parts of it where I was like, okay, what the hell, what are we doing? But this was good.
Yeah, like why the fuck are they still hiring Fandango? But no,
Yeah,
there
like
was
what are
there
we
was
doing?
there was there was other stuff like I said, but I don't know why TNA done it. I think they did it at Slammiversary, a few shows where they take the crowd down and then have to bring them back up again, and it just you need to rise. Scott D'Amore knew
Yeah,
that more than anybody with a TNA, even like a monthly event was you build it up to get to a certain point, which then, I was thinking, all right, we're back on track. Leon Slater versus Javon Evans. How could they fuck this up?
oh
Well,
gosh, bro.
well, no one told us about a time limit. Not commentary or a ring announcer or TNA rules in itself. I mean, 20 minutes, it wouldn't be half hour at a pay per view or something like this, but I don't know. Santina ordered 5 more minutes, much to the delight of the crowd, and
And
Dark State
then,
attacked. Yeah, and then just when we thought we're going to get it, Dark State attacked to make matters worse. I mean, it ruined a fantastic matchup. You really shouldn't do it on your biggest show.
oh
But
my
Dark
god,
State got a "fuck you guys" chant by a guy. I guess that worked in a way. But man, like, yeah, imagine it again. I'm not, but like at WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean? In
yeah,
like the Intercontinental title match, or even the X Division might seem more important in TNA than maybe the IC title is, and then having that when we
oh
expected
my
how good it was, and it was building and building and building, and then just it's like a fuck you, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's what I felt.
Exactly. I was just about
Yeah.
to say, like, this is one of the biggest fuck you to the viewer finishes and just conclusions to a match that I've ever seen, and I don't understand. I don't understand the thought process. It's kind of like everything you just mentioned. Not only is this your biggest show and one of your more important belts with a fantastic legacy, but you have, like you mentioned, young talent. Pushing their bodies to the edge and just up in the bar, like you mentioned, right? Building, 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 and we get to that conclusion. It's just this is one of those things again. It's one of those reasons why I'm harping on the way Impact books things, and I'm not trying to act like I'm not trying to bury them, but like and maybe like you mentioned, like when Scott D'Amore was there, or different eras of Impact would have known better, than to kind of give us this type of finish. But when Impact gets the label as a brand that always kind of trips themselves up or shoots themselves in the foot, finishes like this is why they got that thought process of people saying, "Oh well, Impact is gonna Impact again. They just
Mm,
gotta, they have to be Impact and do something like that because it doesn't make any sense why this match had to conclude in this fashion." So yeah, man, and again, I get it, but like they're both very young. And let's say you want to book. I don't think we especially us who watch both. Does Javon lose anything from losing in the way that
no,
match was going straight up to Leon?
no.
And then we have a partnership. We can get it back. They can run it back at Stand and Deliver or whatever. We can just be like, remember that time I beat you, Javon, and you the NXT champion, or not even just Stand and Deliver, but like whatever. When he's NXT champion in the future, or whatever. Like it's so many opportunities that they can always call back to that, and they can be little rivals that only me and you or people who actually enjoy Bound for Glory would remember. Like, no, you remember those guys delivered that classic, and then not only was the 20-minute stipulation weird and just didn't make sense, and don't like I said, don't make sense on Bound for Glory, but then you could have just gave us a satisfying conclusion that proved that they were because Javon was protected by the first draw. Just let him lose in the five
Mm-hmm.
minutes in a roll up or something, and we would have been fine. We would have got a conclusion. Leon continues to champ, and it's fine. No, we don't even want to give you that. We're gonna send these boys out there, and it does nothing for them. And it's just stupid. It's just a stupid, stupid, stupid. They overthought it, and they end up with a bad result because it just sounds like somebody who was just like, how can I get out of this without having these two young talent look at some type of way, and then you end up making the entire company look foolish instead of just letting it play out and just let those two guys do what they did, which is have a great match.
Yeah, without a doubt, I completely agree with it. And again, like I said, Javon losing actually adds to his journey of not being able to win in big matchups,
Right.
and it seems that it's weird that I don't know again if it's WWE fault behind it. If it's TNA, then it is just
Yeah.
mind-boggling that they've done
It's
it.
just stupid.
But to have maybe have a rematch where it's like the result is on NXT TV and they can go look at this great matchup that we've got between Evans and Slater. Maybe not. I don't know. Again, it just seemed really fucking weird, especially how important the X division is and your biggest show of the year to do like that. Where like you said, I don't think Javon would have lost anything, in defeat.
And
Chris
I agree.
Bay,
I'll
God,
reiterate. If it was WWE, then I 100% agree with you. Then yeah, because that is up their alley to try to do that. And if that's what happened, then yes, I forgive Impact. But like until then, it's just like you said, if it wasn't high sent by the higher up or by Impact wanting to protect it, or WWE wanting to protect it for later, it's just a major blunder.
yeah, without a doubt. Chris Bay did the attendance. It's good to see Chris. He said the attendance was 7,794. It was the biggest show in America, even though they had empty seats dotted around, especially with hard camera. I don't know if you noticed it, Monty, but they had to lower
Yeah.
like the hard cam because of all the seats behind. And it's like, but if you're WWE or whatever it is, you take the fans who were further away and put them there to have it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Move it up.
it's a
Right.
simple fucking thing, isn't it? It's just simple. And they just don't. And again, I will credit AEW and WWE for making their shows this year, especially this year, looking like there was a lot more people. Especially like All
Right.
In. When we talk about it, I thought there was more than like 20,000 there, and the Australia show as well. That we haven't done yet, of course, Crown Jewel, but that looked like there was more than like 14,000 people there. Anyway, carry on. Carry on. 11 years since they last faced, they would face for the last time in one last table. Hardys versus Dudleys. What reception they got. Spike was there. My God, Spike. Is it really 25 years ago when these guys hooked me as a young lad? It was No Mercy in 99. The Hardys versus Edge and Christian. And then I remember the tables match at the Rumble in 2000 between the Hardys and the Dudleys. And then who can forget the Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania in 2000 and the two TLCs. I think it's near enough perfection with a series of matches if you count it like that. I know we've never done it before, but I think those matches stand up with anything else. As for this one, I don't know. Matt Hardy gets caught with an early 3D from Buddy Devon. Moments later, Devon shows Jeff what's up with the what's up headbutt. Jeff is sent through a table with a 3D and then soars off the top of a ladder with a swanton, reminiscent of WrestleMania 2000, putting Devon through multiple tables, but nearly hit, I think he hit his head on the ladder as well, which shows how difficult it was. And accepting defeat, Bully allowed the Hardys to put him through a table. I mean, I didn't mind the finish and the boots left in the ring by Dudley's. And this was kind of a love letter, like we said, to those matches and what we've seen rather than kind of being an instant classic. And I thought this was very well done.
Yeah, I chuckled because Bully Ray, I think after this got on his show or the radio and was talking about how he definitely thought this was a 5-star match because of the way because of the energy from the audience and all of that. And I just chuckled to myself and just like, yeah, he's not biased at all by that thought process. But I get what he mean. Like it's something you'll never see again. It's rare, and it being the Dudley final match with them kind of confirming it with the gesture at the end there. I agree with you. It's just definitely a love letter, and sometimes you wish that we was in that utopia type situation where a Christian Cage and an Edge could be in the crowd or
Mm.
something like that too, and it just. But again, it definitely closed that book, and it definitely was like a love letter to that style. Wasn't the best thing I ever seen, and it was definitely. You definitely can see why this is probably someone's last match, but I don't think, like you said, it was even meant to be anything other than that a love letter slash showcase to their history and to a lot of the stuff they did in the past. And I think just for that, and just for like the emotions and just for the nostalgia and all of that, that it kind of dredged up. If you remember those original, that original feud and all that, I really do think it was top notch stuff, almost just from that. But yeah, was it perfect or was it the most interesting thing or breathtaking? No, but I do think when we consider everything and the fact that Devon was basically fresh off his couch and all this, I thought they did really good. Yeah, I mean, like Devon came
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
nowhere having to do this. So, yeah, man, I thought this was really good. And I thought it definitely, if you were like, especially for us longtime fans who remember those initial TLCs and how they kind of built it up, it definitely made you feel like, you know what, this is pretty cool. You felt a couple things. You either was like, this is pretty damn cool, and shout out to the Dudleys, and I wish them well, or you was like me and you felt a mixture of this was cool, but I'm getting old.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a mixture of I enjoyed it. I thought this was all right. I'm getting old, but I'm glad it's done. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right,
glad there's a line
right.
underneath it now. And like I said, we can dream of the Hardys versus an Edge and Christian match before their retirement. Surely we can work it out.
Hopefully.
Much like Nakamura versus Tanahashi. We got the main event was Trick Williams versus Mike Santana for the TNA title. Conan was there with Mike Santana. He didn't just show up randomly thinking it was Wells Collide or anything like that. Santana hit one final spin the block and became the new TNA World Champion in a great match. This was TNA's moment. Carlos Silva was there to hand, I say nearly said Trick then, to hand Mike the title, who celebrated with his daughter. And it was a lovely moment for TNA and just what they had envisioned, I guess, when they first started this plan with Trick. And I should say as well, credit to Trick Williams.
Yeah, man, I thought this was good. This is a thing, and it's like I got two thought processes about it. I thought this was really good. I thought Trick Williams gained everything that you possibly can gain and more when it comes to experience and all that. As with being champion, he got something that again he got an achievement that no matter who you are, the over Femmies or Trick or Mello, whoever you are, Ilya, none of them can say that they was able to be NXT champion, and Impact champion and just like kind of carry two brands during their run in a sense. And I think creatively he did what he needed to do. And then we also was able to get the payoff of crowning a new champion, the emotions, the family, you know. So I thought that was really well done and it was good. But I will say that impact got an impact sometimes. And instead of doing this probably months ago when they could have, we kind of had to put it off to get here. So it's like I kind of get both sides of the argument where it's like this is exactly what we wanted, but we wanted it. We knew it was coming and we wanted it months ago. And I do think that kind of is an element of the match. But at the end of the day, like you said, this is the end goal. This is what we were all waiting on. We crowned us a new world champion, and Trick got the experience, got what he needed out of it, and I think that was just an A plus. The way everything kind of worked out in this regard is an A plus, and it leads me again. It goes back to my question now. Now we just need to figure out how the hell are you gonna get that. How are we gonna do the women's division, or do we just gotta have Kalani act like she was
Yeah.
is Kalani the end result there? Like I doubt that was the goal. So yeah, maybe they already did that, and because of Ash's situation, we kind of got screwed out of it, so we kind of got to do it again with somebody else. But yeah, so I guess we'll see how that work out. But I think as far as Trick Williams running Impact, and as far as crowning the champion, I think this is the best we can. I think this is about as good as you could ask for when you think about it. Everything, all things considered.
Yeah, and I should say this being TNA, they still they they said they were gonna tease their call your shot, the trophy you can cash in basically, not only with Nick Nemeth but also, of course, with Kaz. So it's just like, yeah, you've had enough, and there we go there. But I thought it was interesting. I mean, again, I like the arena, I like the way it looked. It felt like a big show, but I just don't know if TNA. It's weird. I don't think it's where it needs to be with like crowd and money taken and obviously everything at the moment, but it's not. It's just a shame it wasn't TNA 2 or 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It I don't know. It just feels like it is a bit WWE light right now, and I don't know if that's right or not. But it just that's what I
Yeah.
feel just as a TNA fan. I don't know what you felt just watching it and just being like, what the fuck have they done?
Yeah, I mean, I think my point of view is a little different because again, I've always been one of those people who watch Impact in pockets, like in and out of certain eras. I never really watched it continuously, but I do think from a quality standpoint, it definitely feels like more of a WWE product. but it's definitely some things that still just remind me of like that good old TNA jank. And I'm not trying to act like Impact is just janky in a sense, but I do think Impact has certain things about it to where it's like, yeah, that's Impact for you. But I do think it's just like you mentioned, it does reek of just like, oh, okay, this is just like a different version of NXT, or like you said, the WWE in a different, uh, with different characters and a different sound to it, but it still feels like a WWE production these days. And I don't know if WWE can necessarily help themselves, like their influence is kind of always going to be felt uh, in this relationship. But yeah, you do wish that Impact felt more like their own thing. And like I know we'll probably never get Impact in its prime again. But yeah, it's one of those weird things because, like you said, on one hand, it kind of feels like the company is still fine, but and TV deal and all that type of stuff being negotiated, or I don't know if they have negotiated it or not. But yeah, I know it feels like they're fine, but at the same time, I wouldn't argue with anybody who felt like they may be dying again by comparison to where they were, even if it's just from a creative standpoint. So I don't know. I'll let you kind of carry the torch when it comes to where they currently are. If you feel like it's WWE light, then I definitely don't watch it enough to disagree. But I did, at least for the most part, get an enjoyable show out of it. But it definitely still has its problems, and I think it was evident with like with certain decision making and just even the pacing of the show. But I thought it was okay. It was still fun to watch.
But I think that's my issue with sometimes with even with, talk about independent wrestling, where you go to a show and it goes featuring WWE star X or ex WWE star this, rather
Yeah.
than putting your names on the marquee themselves. And I think it said Mike Santana and people like Moose and others um, could maybe be in the forefront rather than them being like, oh look, it's this Dark State ruined the best match on the card. You know what I mean,
Yeah,
and stuff like this.
yeah,
So again, it's interesting to. I mean, again, you don't get more subscribers and more fans if you don't do stuff like this. So again, it's poison. We've seen it before, haven't we, with wrestling promotions and all this lot trying to get to that next level whilst what I mean, trying to keep everything going. It's interesting times. Anyway, last NXT was October 14th. We've got a recap of NXT Showdown, and Ricky Saints made his way to the ring. He said he's tired of having to wait for a challenger and called out Trick Williams for a title match at Halloween Havoc. Trick appeared on the big screen and said it's not his fault Ricky couldn't get the job done last week, which is ironic seeing as Williams just lost the TNA title a few days ago. But that's where we look like we're getting it for Halloween Havoc then. Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints. And that was a very quick turnaround for both of them.
yeah. Very quick. It makes sense though. I get it. I think I kind of see this is I think if I feel like Ricky has sent over on his way, this is probably Trick Williams' last viable storyline. I mean, he probably could do more with maybe Javon, but honestly, Trick is another one where it's like if he's not ready to call up, if he's not ready to go and do other stuff, then when are we gonna do it, and when is it ever gonna happen? So I do think this match with Ricky is a good match to go ahead and take place. I get it, and I think they do have enough chemistry to where we can see something solid here. But I agree with you also that it isn't like they have a whole lot of time to build it. So I guess we kind of just got to kind of take what we got from the invasion thing. We got to take that type of stuff or the showdown. We got to take
Mm.
that, and then we kind of got to apply it to this feud because Halloween Havoc will be here before you know it. So
I couldn't believe it when they said Halloween Havoc's next Saturday. And I was like, fuck off, is it? And yeah, apparently it is. So, yeah, it comes around quickly, doesn't it? The Hardys had a backstage segment with Leon Slater and Javon Evans. And then for the first time in over 5 years, Matt Cardona stepped in the W ring to take on Josh Briggs, who was looking to send Cardona back to TNA with a few new bruises. After surviving some of Cardona's biggest shots, Briggs nailed him with a huge running boot for the win. This was interesting. I mean, not since Test have I seen a big boot as a finisher, but not only that, I mean, poor Matt Cardona. Come on, you got to feel sorry for him a little bit.
no, I don't. I don't feel sorry for him. And it's not out of anything to Matt, but mostly it's just because I know it. I know in his heart of hearts he was over the moon because he got that call. You know what I mean? He
Mm,
got that call. He was able to come and do something again for WWE, and even if it is putting over the young talent. I mean, that I honestly do wonder though, do this open Matt's eyes in a sense to probably where they look at him at, even with all this work he's done. Like, yeah, even if we do call you back, we're probably just gonna call you to put over some new guys. I think he loved WWE so much that he'll accept it in a heartbeat. So,
yeah.
so I think at the end of the day, you take what you can get. This is fine. Good for Briggs in a sense. Maybe that's the route. You mimic Test. A lot of kids may not even remember Test at this point, so maybe that's what you do. But this is fine and good for Matt in a sense. Like good for Briggs for the win, but also good for Matt because he was back home, even if it was just for one night.
Yeah. And I love the conversation with Josh Briggs as well. Was like, you can't throw a clothesline, but if it's another limb, if you got another limb, oh, you got a little leg, haven't you? Why don't you use that big boot? The AAA Latin American champion was in action. Dr. Wagner Jr. beat Jobber to the Stars, Lexus King. Page came out and hyped their match at
Yeah.
Halloween Havoc. Wagner revealed it would be a Day of the Dead match, which means anything goes. Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, should be good. So, for
Sounds
the
sounds sounds spooky.
Hmm. Ariana Grace got her dad to give Stacks an X Division Championship match during a backstage segment. During the same segment, Williams
That's how
attacked
you do it,
Saints
Jay.
and left him laid out. That is a new way of becoming number one contender now, isn't it? That is another way of just Yep, there we go. So Stacks could be X Division by the time we do the next update. That's
Who
good to
needs
know.
Tony D? Who needs Tony
Yeah.
D? When you can. Never mind. I was gonna make a D joke. We're gonna move on.
That's all right. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Someone saying backstage would be Soul for Zaria's match versus Blake Monroe. Monroe got a chair from under the ring, but Soul did show up and took it from her while the ref was dealing with that. Monroe used her hair pick to hit Zaria in the neck for hitting her finisher for the pin and the win. And again, I was just like, oh, okay, right. And no, actually, I'll wait till later on to talk about it because there was something I need to ask you. Anyway, Fatal Influence had a video with Lani Reed officially joining the group. I mean, it feels a little mean to keep calling Jasmine Nix the weak link of Fatal Influence when she's not there to defend herself. Yeah, I'm just saying, you know.
You don't want to accept our contract. You know what? She was too
Yeah,
weak. It
yeah.
wasn't because we were offering her a shitty deal. She's just weak.
When she was in it, we were going to call it Fatal Shit, but we thought better not. No, poor bitch. Hank and Tank versus the Cullen versus Chase U. Match come to an abrupt end with Bronco Nima and Lucian Price attacked everybody. I shit you
Yay.
not. I thought this was Dark State for a second. Do you know that? And I was going, at least two from Dark State. I recognize them from somewhere, but no, no. Who can forget OTM? So we're building a tag team division,
Jada
Monty.
did.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good tag division, but we're building it. You know, Dark State attacked the Hardys because again, Javon and Leon wanted the tag title match, and they was like, no, 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 we've got shitter teams to use. All right, we have worse teams to put in that matchup. And then a battle royal to find the next number one contender for Jane's NXT Championship closed the show. Competitors from NXT and TNA were involved, a total of 20 women. As soon as the bell rang, everyone started brawling. Some trios tried to work together, but like always, they eventually had to fend for themselves. The final four were Kendall Gray, Jordan Grace, Izzy Dame, and Tatum Paxley. Dame took out Gray, and then she took out herself and Grace at the same time to give
Nice.
Paxley the win. I know, I know. I was pleasantly surprised by Tatum winning, but a couple of questions here. A couple of things happened. The Meta Girls had each other backs, which was a lovely callback. I think just to us, because I don't know how many other people care, but we
Yeah.
we appreciate
Do other
it.
people even notice?
Yeah. Yeah, us and Noam Dar and Aurora Mensah going, that's a nice touch, you know. Soul gifted a spot to Zaria and Blake Costa. So I guess Grace and Monroe are done. I mean, you did mention it at No
Yeah.
Mercy, but I was like, are we done after two matches? Like,
They're
I guess
done.
we are. I guess we are. Monroe's moving on.
Yeah,
And again,
I think to say what women say about us over here, I think I think Blake started to think with her, you know what, and like she's trying to ruin a relationship. She's giving up her bullying to start to just ruin relationships. So
Yeah, yeah. She's gonna move on to. I can't wait for her next promo about that. And the other thing I didn't get as well was Kalani Jordan as TNA Knockouts champion in that match. And this is another thing that fucking annoys me about WWE, where you make it seem lesser than. Do you know what I
yep.
mean? Like, unless it's like, oh, double champion, but then having Grace eliminating her, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why she was in this match. I
And
don't
that's
know
another
why
thing too,
they did this.
because if you think what I've been seeing, it look like they're trying to make it so Jordan is gonna be maybe the next challenger, and I'm just like, so Blake is on to something else, and Jordan kind of goes backwards to like
Yeah.
the championship she used to. I don't know if that's where we're going. So I don't know, man. I agree. There's a lot of that didn't make sense about it. I get that I get storytelling, but goddamn, Zarya look kind of stupid. I understand she was getting attacked, but it's like she gifted you that spot and you throw it away.
It's the
Literally,
way,
just
yeah. It's the way you do it. You know what I mean? It's honestly. Have you never seen battle royal before? Like, just go through the middle ropes, go under the
yes,
ropes, do something. You know what I mean? Just
it was
like,
such an avoidable way
oh,
to it whatever. But yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, man, I understand completely what you're saying, man.
yeah.
It's a lot of weirdness here, and I'm with you, man. I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to. Part of me was like, you know what, James, you're being too much of a just just negative about WWE's treatment of Impact. They're not doing any of that purposefully. You know, this is just you know, come on, man, you being unfair, and then they do little stuff like the Kalani thing, and it's just like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I just don't know. And again, another weird thing as well was Tatum was celebrating with Lyra, and Lyra showed up and just she's got obviously a storyline on Raw at the moment, but she's in NXT a lot. And again, I honestly can't remember the other.
You have
Izzy
to live in
Dame.
Florida.
Izzy Dame. Fucking hell, that came to me. Well done, James. Yeah, it looks like there's issues there. So I don't know what's going on, if that's going to be another story. And again, Tatum deserves her shot. She's been around long enough. She's lost
Yeah,
a lot. Friends
right,
and matches.
right.
Like,
We've been through a lot of incarnations of Tatum at this point. So if anybody is deserving of this spot, it's definitely her. And I think she's also. I mean, she hasn't had a shot since like that random triple threat she had. I think with like Lowry and Roxanne. So which is a really good match. So I think it's pretty cool that she's back in this spot. And I don't know. I'm like you. I think she got too much going on with the whole uh, being the Cullen possibly taking advantage of her slash Lyra relationship. That I don't know if that this will end in her beating JC, but like I think the match has potential to be solid because I think Tatum brings a lot. Tatum, in my opinion, has flashed a hell of a lot more in the ring to me than JC has, and just in the ring. So we have to see how that turns out, but yeah, man. As far as Lyra being there, every time I see Lyra pop up, I understand why they're doing it. Because again, that's another little nod to us. Because yeah, you remember she loves Lyra, right, guys? Who watch NXT every week. But at the same time, it's like not only is it not really, not only is it weird based on what she does on Raw, but and what she has going on in her own storyline. But it's also weird because I'm just wondering, like when since they do so much traveling, that'll be I'm like, please tell me you live in Orlando. Because why are you always there? How are you able to still make it the impact? Well, yeah. I
honestly,
mean, make it not impact, make it the NXT. But yeah.
yeah. So we're nearly done now. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. One of them is quite upsetting, really, because he's our guy, and we've not mentioned it yet, but he has been released from WWE, and that is Wes Lee. We did mention his North American title run. I mean, this I told you, Monty, didn't I? I'd say try and turn him heel and cut his hair. It's like Samson, you know? He just fucked it.
You told me word for word, and I agree. And the thing is, it's not. I was just like one of them guys. I'm such a believer in the talent that I was just one of those guys who just kind of thought that not that, and not to be I'm not being weird here when I say this about it. It's just like not to say that you didn't believe in Wesley, it's just I was hoping that because he had been booked so well and the talent was obviously on display during the entire title run, that they had more for him. My biggest problem is you do it because what we agree on is yes, you cut a person's hair, you do all of that, you turn the heel, and yes, you're 100% right about that. But the only difference would be is if you do all of that, but you got an actual plan for it. And my problem is outside of that Ralston storyline, they had no plan. They had nothing to do for him. They had and not to say that he was the most convincing heel anyway. But my point is, if you want, you can make us be convinced by whatever direction you really want to go with a character. And he was such a good babyface. I'm 100% like you. It's like why change him at all if you don't have a legitimate full plan for this? So it's really unfortunate. But based on what I heard, too, he didn't even. It wasn't even like NXT gave up on him. Even though, to be fair, obviously his booking there play a part in this. But they asked the main roster, they asked Triple H, did he have any or whoever was over calling people up, did they have any interest in him? Apparently, it was no interest. And I'm like, a talented guy like that, the main roster have no interest in him. And I get it. At this point, the main roster have plenty of people that they talented people that they barely use and then they can't figure out something for. So I'm not really surprised that Wesley kind of falls to the wayside also. But it really sucks because a guy, when you really see somebody with his talent and as good as he is, whether he ends up in Impact or whether he goes to AEW, like I think it's hard for me to believe that you couldn't find a way to be featured. But it does make sense because if it's one thing we know about the main roster, is more so than your in ring talent. If they don't believe it as a character, they can put you in certain situations, then yeah, you won't be getting called up. And I think, unfortunately, we've seen it exemplified on NXT as where he is now as a character. I don't think you can do it. But the funny thing to me is if they just flip back to what was already working, he'll be perfect, even just in NXT. But they didn't do that either. So it's just unfortunate. Like a Devon Evans, Wesley of who he used to be, just straight up feud would be beautiful. We know what they would have the potential to do. So it just sucks that things turned out the way it did, in my opinion, because I saw the flashes of it when they did have the match a few weeks. The last big match I saw Wesley in was against Javon, and I saw the flashes of just how special that thing could have been. But again, it's one of those unfortunate things, man. The timing, and I think they move on to new characters to play a factor into that also. So it's just weird, man. It really sucks.
Well, I hope it is like, because again, and you just touched on it then, and I'm just worried that WWE, will be like, okay, we got a Javon now. We don't need a kind of character like that. And then just kind of putting
Right.
these guys as similar types. Do you know what I mean? And that's not right because, again, there is space for a Wesley, especially as he was, even with MSK, you know what I mean? With Zachary Wentz and stuff like that, how good they were on NXT compared to like a Javon Evans. And yeah, not to have that matchup and stuff. And Wes, well, he is a talented guy. And I think you told me the Rascals deals up with Impact at the end of the year. So hopefully, we might see him on AEW TV or something like that. Who knows, with talent. But with someone like Wes who had
Yeah.
such a, because I'm sure you and I were talking about how great Wes is and, the potential that was there. This is obviously before, the turn. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
shame again. Sometimes it's just booking, apathy, it seems, that puts a superstar down rather than anything else. So, again, when it's someone like Obafemi might be a little bit different, but if you're slightly smaller and you've been around developmental, and I heard someone going, well, why they got rid of Wesley and not Noam Dar? And it's not about that. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Right.
about get rid of someone for someone else, but maybe they see Dar as someone who can do, four or five things. I say that and I'll look and he's probably been released, but do you know what I
He'll be
mean?
gone. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, maybe it's Sky who can do four or five things, and with Wes, it's like, well, he can do the face really well, but maybe can't do the heel. I hope not. It's a shame though. Impact was a clip show with Bound for Glory interviews, so we have only got your thoughts on NXT and maybe even TNA because we have spoke about TNA quite a bit this month. But what are your main thoughts on NXT with this update?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had some potential for some special stuff, but I do think overall it was solid. But it was definitely one of those times where over the last month, I feel like NXT was just we seem like we getting ready for another transition period because I don't feel like a lot of huge things have really progressed. Like I think Ethan Page, obviously, and of course, losing over Femi as champion is a big deal. But I mean, that just feels like that's setting up for us to be in another transition where we might lose a chunk of talent, whether it's on the women. I mean, you can already see Sol Ruka and Zara teaming up on the main roster. SmackDown, because of injuries and other reasons, are already pulling and bringing new talent in as much as they possibly can. We've seen Javon on SmackDown recently, so I'm not saying Javon is probably going to be called up soon. I don't know if it will be the time yet, but honestly, if that was to happen, would we even like? That's the thing. I think as NXT fans, I've kind of learned that around when drafts may be coming up or whenever they feel like a new season premiere is ready to come, a big chunk of our talent might get taken out. And I feel like NXT is kind of instead of last year where they felt like a lot of storyline, last time a lot of storylines kind of got cut or a lot of important people were just taken away from us out of nowhere, and it felt like we just had a hole in a lot of the booking. It feel like now they're kind of like, all right, well, let's just get to the next week and do logical things, but let's not use too much talent, and let's not, let's see who we need to feature. Let's keep who we featuring right now, and then let's wait until after WWE takes who they're gonna take, and then we can get back into like doing different and more creative things. But I don't know. I think the problems that we've been had in NXT are still the same. You know what I mean? Like we're not, but this is the reason why I say we're not even featuring like Lash Legend or like we're not featuring as many of the women as I feel like other than like in the battle royals and all that. They're getting TV time, but they're not doing anything to advance much other than like people who are challenging JC and other than like again I guess the stuff with Jordan Grace and Kalani and Mariah. But those people have been. We know that they're probably the way that sends the message to me that they're most likely safe. Maybe outside of a Soul Ruka and then who feels like she could be sooner or later gone. But other than that, there's a lot of the talent that they were using, they're still there, but they're not being used the same. And then the tag division, we still maybe I don't think OTM is going to change the world, but that is adding to that tag division, and I think we need more. And with the Hardys on top of it, we have a chance to kind of make a new team, but it's just like I think the tag division obviously needs work, but we talked about that in WWE in general. I don't think tag division is the priority, and that's just really unfortunate because it can be such a good way to get multiple people on television, get multiple people over. So it just sucks. But I think we're okay. We're like in an okay state with NXT, but I feel like I'm waiting on them to hit that next gear when it comes to what's next for NXT. So we'll see. But the Impact show I thought did his job. I thought they got it out the way. I wish it became something bigger and an actual like branching narrative. And who knows, maybe it was meant to be something bigger. But so far it just seems like we're just gonna continue the relationship and using talent on both shows. And then as far as Impact, my thoughts overall on Impact goes, I think like we mentioned earlier, the best way to kind of describe them is that they feel like they're doing good, but at the same time, they still have glaring issues that if they want to be that legitimate third brand or third option that because I've seen I don't know who it was, but somebody at Impact was trying to make it the case that they were already the second uh, option as far as pro wrestling goes over AEW. And I'm like, no, you're a long way from that, buddy. But like, you know what I'm saying? If they truly want to attain that, then they have to actually, like you said, they don't need to become WWE like they need to continue, they need to be Impact, and they need to establish a new identity for themselves. And maybe with Mike Santana being there, being the champion, that's one of the first steps into doing that. But I do think Impact is in need of a true identity. They got bright spots. They got the Leon Flays. You got the Mike Santana. You have things that I think is doing good in Impact, but I do believe that they are also kind of in a stagnant place too.
Yeah, yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? After the biggest show of the year, you think TNA will push on now, but it feels like okay, let's wait to see what NXT does, and that will show what TNA will do at the start of the year, even with the kind of they've got no recordings at the moment until they're going back to Full Sail to do some live shows, which I think is middle of November. So whether we'll just get clip shows, I know this week's was and next week will be. So it'd be interesting if they have like a shutdown and then we'll see like a new season, so to speak, with TNA. But like I said, NXT is our bread and butter. But again, it will be interesting. And finally, we should mention, talk about releases, Ridge Holland. He broke his foot versus Moose and has been released. And Monty, all I would say is what goes round comes round sometimes, it seems.
Yeah, man, I couldn't put it better. I mean,
Yeah.
do I think WWE, do I think that could have been handled better, or I don't wish that on any talent, at least the result of at least how things turned out. Of course I don't, but at the same time, to like you mentioned, it's very, very, life can be poetic like that sometimes. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So that is it. Don't forget, we're across all social media. X at the Double Up Podcast. I'm at the Double Up Pod James. You can find the entire Double Up team on the banner. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter.
The Double also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email to doubleupodcast at gmail.com and YouTube, the Double Up Podcast, where we're celebrating 10 years of the WNR with shorts, universe mode, and clips for any event we go to. Oh, the podcast is live on YouTube and also on SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes. But you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. That is it. Our next episode will be in 2 weeks' time, and it's Wrestle Dream. And don't worry, we're back in 2 weeks for Wrestle Dream, and then it will be Crown Jewel, and then it will be Halloween Havoc, and there you go. We'll be back again. But until then, James Rollins was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, I know it's quite a long one today, but I think we've covered a lot of ground in this one.
Yeah, I think we did a good job, and they have such a quick turnaround with these PLEs and stuff. But when we come back next time, we'll see just exactly where we are. But I can't wait to see what happens. I'm interested to see when and how. I don't know if they announced anything, but can't wait to see where we shake out when it comes to the draft because I do think it'll be interesting to see because that does affect what NXT looks like going into the new year greatly.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, that is it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.